high school. So we're looking for him as well.
Okay. You are live on YouTube, so you can start the meeting.
Excellent. All right. I'd like to call this Nauset Regional School Committee meeting to order. This is being live streamed as well as you can join it on a webinar link. The webinar link is us02web.zoom.us/J/4208690505. Webinar ID 842-0869-0505. Call to order. No agenda changes that I'm aware of. Tom? No? Okay. We move on then to citizens speak.
Oh, where's Julie?
I'm sorry?
Julie Cobalt.
Julie Cobalt is not able to make it this evening. She
Okay.
has
Okay, thanks.
a family challenge, I believe.
Thanks.
Certainly. So citizens speak. I don't know if we have any present. I hate to say it.
Chris, this is Sarah.
Yes, Sarah.
We have about 9 attendees, and what we normally do, like for other meetings, is if anybody has a question or thing for citizen speak, if they can use the raise hand feature
Okay.
on the Zoom app.
All right. If you could use the raise hand feature. The thing is, I don't know that I have everybody here and that you're telling me we've got these observers, but I guess I do. Well,
I don't see them.
I see them, Sarah,
Okay.
but that's fine. If anybody wanted to speak up.
Yeah, because there are 25 participants total.
Thank you, Dick. I've got 25 on my front here. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Hearing none. How's that?
Hearing none.
Okay, we move on to the consent agenda. I would look for a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved by Ed, looking for a second.
Second,
Second by Dick. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to an immediate vote. It is a roll call vote. How do you vote?
aye.
Amy?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes, and thank you for the golf clubs.
Dick, you're welcome.
Yeah, yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I vote yes also.
Ed, you were the first one I called. Somebody answered for you. I apologize. You were the first I called, honest.
Oh, okay.
Dick, was that you? Did you vote twice, Dick?
Didn't mean to.
There are rules against that. You know that. All right.
Not in Trump's place.
Let's keep this into our politics, please. We're moving on to priority business administrators report. Tom, is someone reporting for the middle school this evening? You're muted, Tom. I'm sorry.
So at this time, there isn't Chris from the middle school. We'll have to go by the written report that Julie has given us.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, is that the current report or is this the report for tonight? This one here? It's September 2020.
So whatever Ann sent you is the report.
Oh, okay.
So, question.
Yes, Judy.
So how do we get questions on this?
So I think the fairest way is Julie had hoped to be here. Obviously, She's dealing with some family situations
Yeah,
with her
that's fine.
daughter's health. And I would suggest that the board members give her a call directly.
Well,
Okay,
I
or you
mean,
can email if you want. You can email me and I will, I can forward them on or get them to her, have a conversation and get back to you.
no, I thought it was a great report. It's just that, like always, would be good to have some discussion on some of the points. So maybe we can save it for next month's meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. Or we can,
Absolutely.
if the questions would hold or stave over or the conversation would save over, that's fine, without a doubt. We move on next. Dr. Elisasser, Chris, I know I saw you in here.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. Center screen. Okay.
Yep, center screen. There you go. So hi, everybody. I know
Good evening.
you received the report. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Highlights I'd like to point out, we continue to be planning and replanning and replanning and replanning. I think one of the things that we've really focused on is communication. There are lots of things that aren't really in our control. We get different variables that show up every day, and our approach has been to just try and communicate as clearly and as often with everybody as possible, so at least we're all on the same page, even if sometimes it's not a page that we want to be on. At least everybody knows where we are. The cohorts have been established, and that went out to families, and the building work on the ventilation has been going extremely well. We're on target for hybrid starting on Thursday. And following me, I'm going to have Keith Kenyon, who's one of the assistant principals who led the ventilation along with Tony, speak in more detail about our progress there. But the classrooms are going to be up and running as we had hoped. The teachers have been engaging in professional development while around the hybrid, while teaching in the remote model. We've received feedback from people about the remote model and have made some changes to our pacing in terms of the schedule and homework. And I guess the one image I wanted to share with everybody. So one of the things we've been doing in order to prepare both for the remote and the hybrid are simulations. So I was in a classroom the other day with a department, and one teacher had put together a lesson. And that teacher was at the front of the room. The other department members were divided between playing the role of student in the classroom, and then the others were playing remote students located outside of the classroom. And they role played for about 30 minutes and then came back together to talk about everything from the hardware to the software. But what impressed me the most was that they were not talking about the concerns about how long it takes to prepare lessons or even about the technology. Their primary concern was about the ways that they could get the kids to connect with each other in these new spaces that we're going to be in. So it just speaks to, through all of this, the teachers have continued to put the students at the front and think about the experience from the student perspective. And I think that just says a lot about the kind of school that we have and the quality of the teachers that we have. Also, John Matson, who's our athletic director, and Michelle Pavlou, who's our trainer, have done an amazing job with the athletic programs. You go out in the afternoon, out on the back fields, and there are students all wearing their masks, playing all the games that they're familiar with, albeit with some very bizarre rules. And just having, you can't see people smiling because they're wearing masks. But they're smiling so broadly, it's coming through in their eyes. So it is, it's quite a thing to behold every single afternoon. All the kids out there, the coaches working with them, everybody talking to each other through their masks. It's becoming normal. That's probably not a good thing, but it's kind of becoming normal for us. We have games and people coming to the games, only home fans. So there isn't really the back and forth between the two fans. But it's just, it's been impressive to see how happy people are with whatever it is that we can pull off. I think we've moved away from comparing what we used to do to what we do now. And we're now comparing what we're doing now to not having anything to do. So the kids are just so happy to play, be out at school. And we're really looking forward to seeing more students. We've had about 45 students on campus since the start of school, and that's helped us understand a little bit more about how to manage students on campus. And, we want it to be a celebratory place, but we also have to have safety at the top of our list. And it's a balance every day. So we're looking forward to everyone. I'm coming. I'm happy to answer any questions. And then after that, I'm going to turn it over to Keith, and he and Tony have done a tremendous job working with Mac Air, and they've been great partners, putting in overtime over the weekends, coming in, every day, working with our team, actually working around the schedule of our teachers. So every day, Keith has a chart of when teachers' preps are, and that's when the Mac Air repair people would go in and work on the repairs and then leave so the teaching could happen. So it's been impressive. So any questions anyone has for me?
Yes, Amy.
Just a quick question. What about buses? Are we going to get a schedule for busing?
Yeah, so the central office has been working with the bus company on the busing for the cohorts, and that information should be going out as well. We sent the cohorts out yesterday, and we wanted to make sure that, there's always going to be human error. We wanted to make sure that any siblings with the middle school and the high school, that we got that right. So we've made some adjustments, and the bus company is still working on that, but that's the next thing that will come out to people.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Dick.
Hey, Chris, I saw the pictures in the Cape Codder of your teams out practicing. It was pretty nice to see that, and it did look like the kids were happy. I couldn't help but notice that the cross-country runners had masks on. Is that just in the early part of practice?
No, that's the way it is now. You're going to be out there training. You're wearing a mask. Kids are wearing their masks during soccer games. They're wearing their masks on the field. It's just what you do. It's good for increasing your aerobic capacity.
Yeah.
You got to have the right mask. You get yourself Richard, if you need a running mask, I've got some extras I could send your way. You can come to the school any day. And think of it this way, you only have to run half as far and you get twice as strong.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, look, if one of us wants to go to an event, we're permitted to do that, aren't we? Whereas, being from the district and all, not from.
Yeah, we assume you're rooting for us. So
that would normally be the case. Yeah.
Yeah, home fans are allowed, and we have an agreement with the athletic directors over the other schools that we're working with that we want only home fans at games. There are, as anything in this time, somebody drives for an hour and they show up and they say they didn't realize that. We're inclined to let them from a distance watch. We've also had one school allowed a parent to go and videotape one of the games so that people who couldn't go could see it. So I think every week we're figuring out a little bit more about what we can do given the limitations that are placed on us.
How can we get a copy of the schedule for this fall?
You go to the website, click on athletics, click on fall, and then click on whichever team you want to see.
All right. Hey, Chris, do you think, through the chair, Chris Easley, I just have a couple follow-up questions for Chris Elsasser. Is that okay?
No.
Oh. That's what Al Franken said to Senator Blumenthal one day.
Oh my God.
I'm just going to go ahead anyway, though, because I think you were kidding. Hey, Chris, you had said, I think you said you're going to start on Thursday, which I think is the 15th, right?
Yeah, those are both correct.
Yeah, because I think we said, and Tom said last week that, last month, that he hoped to have everything open for hybrid learning on the 15th. It looks like you guys are are going to meet that goal. It seems like that's happening.
Yeah, and in thanks to Keith and to Tony, to the people at Mac Air, and to the teachers who have been doing professional development. So they've been teaching a new remote model while at the same time preparing to teach another new hybrid model. So all those efforts from all those people, and I would include the families who have been very cooperative through all of this, and the students who are all doing the right thing. I mean, it's a community effort. That's how we got here.
Are you doing a study of this evolution of remote and hybrid learning? You mentioned at one point you wanted to be a research high school. Are you guys conducting studies on this?
Well, we're keeping data from students and teachers, and we're running simulations and have notes on those simulations. So we are tracking our story, which I think is something that we're going to be able to share with other schools that might not be finding the same success or just have questions for us. I also communicate with the other principals around the Cape, and we've all worked with each other, and I think it's safe to say that we've been a resource for others who maybe had questions about things that we had already figured out. But it goes both ways.
One last question. I just want to tell you, I'm planning to come up to the school. So if you get that face mask ready, I'll be happy to take it, Chris.
Okay, we run in the woods, so you want to bring, good shoes and
Okay.
hydrate all day long, because if you fall behind, I'm not inclined to slow down. That's just not respectful
Are you
to
are you coaching those kids? Are you one of the-
I help the girls' soccer team when I can.
Okay.
I'm not an official coach,
Yeah.
I'm not on the books in terms of the finances, but I show up when I can to help.
Good. Are you getting good support from the parents for these efforts that you're making at these different ways of learning? Are you getting good support from the parents?
Yeah, I mean, people have been very gracious and understanding and supportive. And they've also, I think we have a good relationship in that people feel comfortable sharing with us feedback and being honest about what's going on. And they know that that's not felt by us as threatening, but as helpful. And then we're able to make adjustments. I mean, we have made changes to the way we're going to run our Wednesdays. And that is in large part because of the feedback that we got from kids and families on their experience with regard to the workload and the pace. So we're not operating in a vacuum. So families are, they're one of the voices that help us figure out how to move forward.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Yes, Ian.
Just a brief one for you, Chris. What are you guys up to prep-wise for students that are coming on campus? How are they going to know where to go, the procedures, et cetera? Is that something you guys are doing in the report?
Yeah, so students have been making videos as early as the summer. So first we made a bunch of hybrid videos, and then they changed it up and made remote videos. So, and that's led largely by the student council. So those videos links are going out to students so they can have kind of a virtual tour of the school. And then we've arranged, so the Thursday and Friday when we come back, the 15th and the 16th, we have a 7-block schedule. Usually kids would only meet with 4 classes, but we have a 7-block schedule on each day so that each cohort is able to come to campus and experience all of their courses. And part of it is the teachers orientating the kids to the impact the hybrid will have on the learning in the classroom. And some of it is the protocols of how do you walk around the school and only go in one direction. We have, it's pretty simple. It's, wear your mask, watch your distance, and wash and sanitize your hands. So we think we've got it down to a point where hopefully within a couple of days, I could go and ask any kid, so what are the 3 W's, and give me some details on those. And they would know, well, I have to wear a mask, and it's got to cover my nose and my mouth. And I need to have it on unless I'm on a mask break. And I need to sanitize my hands when I enter a space, sanitize my hands when I leave a space. I need to clean a surface when I show up. and clean a surface when I leave. And I need to watch my distance of 6 feet, sit in my assigned seating. And if I don't feel well, if I have any of the symptoms, I'm to stay home and then check with my doctor and either get approval for the doctor to return to campus or get a test to return to campus. So it's not a whole lot to remember, but it's enough. So that's what the first 2 days are about. Orientation.
Excellent. Judy?
Yeah, Chris, thanks. First of all, thank both you and Julie for getting back into your written reports. They're very helpful to get them ahead of time, and your reports are much better than my scrawly notes.
Thank you, Judy.
I appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome.
I have 3 quick questions, I think, so I'm going to ask them all at once, and then you can answer them.
Okay.
One, you have a whole list of ways of which you're communicating, which I think are great.
Yep.
More communication, the better. So my first question is the weekly high school update.
Yep.
Some of us on the school committee do not fall into the category of family, teacher, staff, or student. So I'm wondering, number one, how others of us on the school committee could perhaps see that. Number two, you talk about cohorts going Monday and Thursday.
Yep.
And Tuesday and Friday.
Yep.
I thought it used to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So have you changed that so that
Yep.
they are now going Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday?
Yep.
And 3, on the homework, which you had mentioned before.
Yep.
We do have a homework policy.
Yep.
Which we never really, since we passed it, have had a chance to follow up and see how it was going. So I'm assuming that when you talk about pulling back on the homework, nobody would be doing more than what is set in the homework policy. It would be at the policy or less. Those are my 3
Yep.
questions.
Okay, so the first I was actually going to ask, and it occurred to me that it would be a good idea for you all, if you wanted to receive the weekly update
Yes.
that comes from the high school. And then when I provide there might be some redundancy in terms of the report that I provide for you, but I pull from my weekly updates to put together the update for you all. And I'm happy to include everybody. We get it out to everyone on Friday afternoons.
Yes.
So I can certainly do that. And I think that would give you a clear snapshot. It's pretty easy to read. We have it organized by topic. It wouldn't take a lot of time. And we try not to repeat anything. So it actually is news. And then we post those on the website. The cohorts. So you're right, Judy. We started off, I don't even know when it was, months ago, with a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then when the middle school changed their program to a hybrid, they wanted to go Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, because they were worried about the amount of time between seeing students, and they thought that developmentally it wasn't appropriate. So we decided that although in terms of just the high school, the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday worked better for us, that the developmental needs of the kids at the middle school would be a priority over that, because we could not be mixing our kids on the bus and accomplish the hybrid that we wanted. So that's when we shifted to a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday schedule at the high school, so that our siblings and would be not mixed up on buses and undo the hybrid model. And then for the homework policy, you're correct in that there would not be anybody who would be doing more homework than what we have in the policy. And what we're trying to do is, with the combination of screen time, the combination of everyone being brought into a completely new system and the stressors that puts on people, we were looking and are looking for what is a sustainable pace of work in the event that we should be like this for the entire school year. And so we had a conversation, again, responding to students. The administrative team meets with the student leaderships every Tuesday morning. So that's a place where we get some input and just having a conversation with the kids about how's it going. And that's where we talked about that we would try to only have homework that was essential, not that anybody's assigning anything extra, but really think about what is essential and also give some thought to the amount of screen time that it might take to do that work. And it's just another lens for us to look through. But if anything, it would be a backing down from the work. We want people to make it through the year and not feel like they're holding their breath.
Good. Thanks a lot.
You're
And
very welcome.
Other questions for Chris? Couple quick points. That sports, Chris, is excellent. You, the goalie is doing very well. I noticed, and you're coaching them on the girls' soccer team varsity. Is that correct?
Yeah, helping out.
I don't think they've gotten one goal in there yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that's the way it's supposed to go. Why would you give up a goal?
But on that note, though, I mean, my two daughters play sports, and just the energy that they get from going to school and just interacting with their friends. I think the sports is kind of a sideline to it. It is just their exercise, being together is excellent. It does so much for their attitude and their energy. It's beautiful stuff. One other point on that, just to note, the boosters are being a little challenged this year because of not having the concession stands, not being really able to sell the Nauset cards or whatever. So anything that people can do to help support the boosters, they've done an awful lot of good things for us. We play on a field that they have helped provide. And so anything we could do to help support them would be important and also help the athletics in the school. So.
Okay, well, if there are no further questions.
Just an idea actually real quick about that.
Sure,
Yes,
Rob.
Robert Jacobus. I know, Chris, you mentioned that there were parents from other districts filming away games. Would it be possible for us to have someone film one of our games and just have it, pay what you want donation wise from parents? And if, I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe you'd have some people who are like, hey, I'd love to see my kid play, DY, even though I'm not allowed to go to the game. Here's $5 for the school. And because it's a pay what you want, people who might not have the money can still watch their kids without it being a thing. I'm throwing it out there, food for thought, my 2 cents.
Yeah, I can bring it up to John Mattson, the athletic director, and that may be a conversation he wants to have with the other athletics. Again, we're trying to figure out, nobody wants to turn someone away from seeing their kid play, whether it's home or away. And so I think we might be making an effort across schools to do that. And then that's a great opportunity to ask people if they're able to make a donation on behalf of the athletic program.
Gotcha. Excellent. Other questions?
Hey,
Tom, are we doing? Yes, Dick.
I just want to make sure that, are we in accord that we would like to get the weekly update that Christopher sends to the parents regarding the high school, the weekly update?
Yes, I think that is in the works.
All right.
Yep,
I
you'll
think that's
get
a
it
great
tomorrow.
idea. It's a great idea. Hey, Chris, can I just say one thing briefly?
Yes, please.
Have you guys considered making up a little brochure or even a palm card that you could put in local businesses that have a seasonal sports schedule for all of the high school teams on it? Have you considered that? High schools all over the country will have a poster that have all the team schedules, and they'll be in pizza houses and ice cream parlors and, all over town. And then there might be a pamphlet by the cash register so that anybody in town can see what the high school kids are doing. Have you guys ever thought about doing that?
We have, and we use Twitter and Facebook and the webpage. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't also have things up around town, but really the way to reach people is through social media. So, phones are really walking billboards, depending on what you put on them. And just for example, the athletics, John does a great job with the Twitter account. And he also updates the website. And I know the music department has a very good website. But we couldn't do too much advertising for our kids, that's for sure.
Okay,
Excellent.
just a thought.
Tom, just a quick question here. Are we going to address the ventilation at this point or wait till priority business B for Keith?
Let's go ahead and bring Keith in and go ahead and
Okay.
finish up this whole conversation about the start of the school. So that's good.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask Keith to come in and speak with everybody. And, when he finishes remarks, I know he's got to go off to another event, but he was able to break away to be with us. And he and Tony have done a tremendous job, again, coordinating with Mac Air. We have another company, a third party that's testing the rooms for us. And on top of everything else that we're doing to get the school ready, to bring an entire building up to speed in terms of ventilation has been a Herculean effort. So I want to introduce everyone to Keith Kenyon and let him tell you a little bit about the work that he and Tony have been driving at the high school. You're up, Keith.
Thanks, Chris. And thanks to all the school committee members too for having me on tonight. It's as I told Tom when we were doing his TV show last week that I know more about the high school ventilation system than I do about my own house. I have no idea what goes on in my house. But it's been an interesting project, and I'm happy to report that we're going to be open for business on October 15th as promised. And tomorrow is a really big day for us, which I'll explain in a couple seconds. But I'd like to thank Chris and Tony Nanini, who's our director of maintenance at the high school, Tom Conrad, certainly, who has driven this project from the very beginning, and especially to our teachers, because this has been a disruption to their life as they're trying to learn how to teach remotely, hybrid, vendors into their classrooms during times, disrupting things. And our teachers have been phenomenal through all of this. And we couldn't ask for better partners in education. So we're extremely grateful for their efforts to help us get here. So let me try to take you through ventilation one-on-one really quick as I can, and then we can answer some questions at the end that either Tom or Chris or I could answer for you. First of all, Mechanical Air is the company that we use for the ventilation systems. They're the vendor of record at the high school for the past 13 years that service both our heating and our ventilation systems, and we've been partnered with them for a number of years. Home Energy Raiders is another company that's a third-party company that comes in and tests the air exchange in each of our classrooms. And for staff and student safety, they have to meet certain CPMs, which we call cubic feet per minute, which we call CFM. And the exchange in those classrooms has to be a minimum of 6 times per hour to be healthy enough for the individuals that are going to occupy those spaces. So those are the two vendors that we use. The majority of the rooms in the high school have what we call univents, and they supply air exchange and they supply heat to each of these spaces that our teachers work in. All of our buildings have exhaust fans on them, on top of the buildings. The majority of the exhaust fans on the top of our buildings are for air exchange in bathrooms, hallways, offices, and structures like that. The only place one of the very few places that the roof exhaust fans drive the building in the classroom is our science labs. And that has to be because of the chemicals and the experiments that take place in our science labs. So the roof vents do play into the ventilation of our science classrooms in the E building as well. Right? Couple things that when they rate these, and when Home Energy Raiders comes in and they rate these rooms for the fresh air exchange, they divide it by 17, which is the CDC rating of the number of people that can occupy a room. So when you look at the key and when we have over 200 rating, it's about 12 people. And I can tell you that the majority of our classrooms on average probably have 12 kids in the room and a teacher. That would be probably the median of the classroom. There's some bigger spaces, and it's all based on CFM, but it's also based on social distancing as required by the state requirements and DESE. Okay, so here's the process. This is what we've been doing. First of all, Mechanical Air comes in and they analyze the situation in every space in the high school. Okay, and that might be, they do an analysis of every heating system and every air exchange system. Okay. After they're done, they do the repair. Once they diagnose, they do the repair. And in some of those repairs, it might be swapping out a motor. It might be changing a belt. It could be replacing the bearings. It could be fixing the actuators. It could be fixing dampers. There's a variety of things that have to be done to repair a 50-plus-year-old building. After they're done and the repairs are done, HER or Home Energy Raters comes in and they do the air exchange test, the official third-party test, which we go by our numbers. So this is my Bible, folks. This is what I live by, my map of the high school and every room and every CFM in the room. And they give us all the ratings, and they also give us a report weekly of their results. So we started, first of all, in the N building. It's our newest building, and we felt that we needed to go after our core subjects first. Our N building houses our math classes and our world language classes. It's our newest building, and we knew that we had to get that building up and running first because we had some of our most challenged learners that needed to be in the building starting on September 16th. And we've had roughly 40 to 45 kids in the building since that day. So we occupied that building once it was approved by both groups, and they've been occupied since September 16th. After N, we went directly to A, and that's two of our major core subjects, which is English and history. In the A building, every classroom passed, and everything was repaired and brought up to speed. Then we went after our final core subject, which is science, was the E building, which is your biggest challenge because of the labs that are in the E building. And that passed, and every room there is certified for occupancy for students and teachers as well. And then we went after all the elective spaces, our C buildings, our wood shops, our art metal areas, our music areas. And then the last thing that we did was our B building, which is above our library. And that's the majority of our business classes, some music, some computer science, a variety of things that take place on the second floor of the B building. So tomorrow, what I can tell you is, looking at this map, 90% of those classrooms have been repaired, have passed the required CFM for every air exchange in those rooms. And tomorrow, Home Energy Raters comes in, and we take a look at the second floor of the B building, which we have 4 classrooms upstairs, and then a couple other spaces, the band room and the auditorium. And once they certify those rooms tomorrow, we'll be 99% of the way there. Ironically, the only classroom right now after tomorrow that probably will not pass will be a classroom where a teacher is teaching remotely. So it doesn't hurt us at all. And that will be up to speed in a week or so anyways too. So, and the nice part about it is that we know when Mechanical Air does the repairs and does the analysis of each room, they also test for the air exchange in each room before Home Energy Raters comes in. So we really know what we're to expect from Home Energy when they arrive on campus to do the third-party testing, because Mac Air has already tested it themselves. So we have a good indication. So we feel very comfortable that tomorrow, all of our second floor B buildings classrooms will pass, our auditorium, our music room, and the only one we have is one classroom on the second floor of the B building, which will be done in a week, but it doesn't affect us because that teacher's teaching remotely. So that's kind of where we are. We're up to speed. We're excited about it. And as we tell the kids, you know, we meet with a lot of the student leaders once a week. We tell them that our school isn't the same unless kids are in it. And we don't enjoy it when they're not there. It's not fun. We just are looking forward to welcoming them and bringing them back on campus. And it's going to be a celebration of our kids coming back. I mean, there's obviously protocols that have to be taught to our kids in terms of entrances and exits and washing hands and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we want them to feel comfortable that they're back in their high school and that we're proud to open it up next Thursday.
Yeah. Excellent. Any questions for Keith? Yes, Tom.
I think he's muted.
He is. I think he's working on it.
Keith, how about the gymnasium and the auditorium?
Yep, the auditorium gets tested tomorrow, Tom. That handler is way up in the air and they have to get a lift tomorrow to put it up there, but they're confident it's going to pass. The cafeteria, just so you know too, Tom, in their big spaces has been approved for 77 people, but we'll never put 77 people in there because of social distancing. I think the most we'll have in there is probably 40 at the most, maybe 50. And the gym has been approved for 150 people, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Keith? No, excellent. Keith, thank you very much. Appreciate all your efforts. I know the kids are psyched to get back into the school.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. I'll see you in the morning, bright and early.
We look at our agenda, we move on next to the superintendent's report.
So thank you, Chris. And it will be a great day when we see students at Nauset Regional High School next week. I think we all realize the enthusiasm of all the students that have come back already, and I anticipate the same from the high school. I wish I had more exciting things in some cases to share with you, but it's important information that you be made aware of. I am spending a great deal of time on what we know is the Memorandum of Understanding. Carol Forgione has been working with me on this as well. And we are working directly with Mark Matheson and Ann McConchy, the two leaders of the teachers union. And the focus of this MOU has been going on for numerous weeks relative to a temporary MOU for any changes relative to the academic program and teaching that is taking place under these circumstances. And we have a document around 20 pages long, and we have what we believe to be a rough draft of this. It's now gone to the negotiating team, and we've sent that out for their review, and they are starting to get some feedback back after they've reviewed it. And eventually we'll see both groups coming back together to finalize and see if we can put this to bed in terms of being a document that we'll be using throughout the year relative to teaching and learning in our classrooms and our schools. So as that moves forward, it's obvious to us that each building has something unique about their issues, whether it be physical or program or staffing and so forth. And to avoid going down the road and eventually possibly having to get to grievances over certain things, we are moving together and going into every building in the district to meet with any issues that are potential problems for us going forward. For instance, today we were in Brewster at the Eddy School, and we met with a few teachers and their union reps and discussed a situation that we hope to be able to find a solution to. And it was very beneficial, and hopefully over the next 2 weeks, we'll have these meetings behind us and solutions put in place to keep going forward relative to that. Obviously, you have more than likely taken a look, probably briefly at this point, but the enrollment numbers and number of people are involved in that process. But as we gathered the data on October 1, that's a critical day for us, obviously, in terms of getting the count of students in all of our system. And that's a robust report that we're putting together for a discussion here later in the meeting as we go forward. The other issue that I would like to talk about is our concerns about staffing. We're averaging at least 2 retirements a week at this point. We hope it's all done at this point. They're not leaving immediately, but sometime during the school year. And we're concerned about substitutes going forward. As you remember at the last meeting, I put out a call for anybody that's interested in subbing for us, and I'll do that once again. It's simply getting a hold of the HR office at the central office here at Orleans and getting an application, and we can take it from there. So that's a real issue for us going forward. The other piece that I would share with you is I'm working with the other superintendents as we begin to look at how we can help each other. And it could be as simple as sharing practice that we're seeing in some other schools and so forth, or it could be actually partnering together on finding solutions to common problems. And I think that that's going to pay some dividends for us going down the road. And it's really, really important that we continue trying to find easy solutions. The other piece that we've been working on is obviously Giovanna will be jumping in right behind me, but this is a time where we're beginning to shift into budgets, and she'll be outlining a number of pieces that we're working on. You'll see when she rolls out the calendar, of course, that because of the time constraints this fall for the budget work that we've done in the past, we're actually pushing it back a little bit. And we're preparing, after you see these enrollment numbers and discuss it tonight, the town halls are anxious to have a chance to see those numbers, and we'll be traveling out to make sure that they get those numbers and answer any questions that they might have at that point. The other piece I would say is that in a little bit, we'll be talking about the secretary's position, but in relation to that, we have been spending a great deal of time looking at the operation of the central office to understand how we can job share in some situations and understand the capacity of certain positions relative to the work demands, and how we can begin to find ways to maximize our efforts across the entire staff to continue the great results that we've been having, I believe, for the system and for the communities. And we've had a lot of meetings around that subject with our department heads to get close to finalizing some assignments that we want to make in the future that we think will be beneficial. So that's where we're at. And I can tell you that it is typical in my daily operation now that I get a call, at least one a day, of somebody that is going home sick, and more than likely in all these cases is going to see their doctor, and we will be waiting over the night to see if there are any issues relative to the virus, or it's simply a flu issue or a cold or otherwise. And so that has become a norm for the superintendent to anticipate at least one of these calls, if not more, and waiting it out to see if we have any issues with the virus. At this point, we've been very fortunate, and but I believe that will continue throughout the school year. There's no question. Questions that the board has?
Yes, Tom.
Talking to myself. I know that much of the, again, I know that much of the union negotiations are confidential. Just maybe give me a summary of what the status is at this point in time. Is it a 1 year kind of workout and
Yeah, sure.
stay on hold, or?
Yeah, so Tom, because in many cases we have different working environments and assignments and so forth, that the MOU that I'm talking about right now is temporary in nature, and so it's really just for this school year. And the negotiating team that I talked about was put together to work on a new contract. John O'Reilly is a member of that, for instance, and we hope to move forward with the negotiations right behind it and settle a number of issues relative to prior conversations we had last year, and also look at the financial issue of contracts going forward. So that's where we're at.
So are they on hold wage wise, or
Yes, yeah, exactly, Tom.
going
We're
through
on-
any of the steps, or
Yeah, we never settled the COLA, for instance, and that
Okay.
was one of the issues we go back to. So,
okay.
Yep.
What, help me out, it's education, what's an MOU?
a memorandum of
Understanding?
understanding.
Thank you.
Ian?
Just a quick question on staffing, Tom. You said we're having a lot of retirements and understandable. What's our health staff look like? I know I'm sort of bludgeoning you about the nursing stuff,
Sure,
but
sure.
I feel, have we hired any new nurses?
Yeah,
What's the
it's-
status of the high school opening, et cetera?
Carol was with me today and Eddie doing that work, and she was rushing back as well as I was getting ready for this meeting, because she has made an offer for a full-time nurse at the high school. And that's great news for us, and we're very pleased with that. I know Mary Ellen Reed is really excited. So that's a big step for us to fill a void in our overall nursing program. So that's great news.
Great, thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Judy?
Yeah, just to follow up on the staffing. Tom, you said that we were having an average of 2 retirements a week. I don't think that probably surprises anybody, and that's fine. But my question, and I noted and it was one of the things I wanted to ask Julie, I noted in her report, there were a number of new hires at the middle school, and I'm sure other places with these retirements. But my question is, when these vacancies come up, how are the vacancies advertised?
So Carol, it goes out of HR, of course, as anyone would imagine, and we're doing it. We have a number of different venues that we use. Much of it is online, and not much at all in terms of the old days of putting it out in the newspapers. And we also are going, depending upon the exact position, we go to their associations, and we're also sending things out to colleges and universities to have some of these positions posted. So we continue, knock on wood, to have decent to very good pools. And Julia was very pleased with some of her hiring, and Carol is very, very upbeat on the nurse that we just brought aboard. So that part of it is, and quite honestly, we're a very desirable district. The retention of our people is some of the highest in the state of Massachusetts. And we have great facilities, and we have great support by our boards and our communities for public education, and that's well known. So hopefully that continues. And when I talk about getting 2 a week, they're not for that within 30 days. Most of them you'll find with our particularly mainly our teaching staff, they're going out what seems to be on their birth date, and that would probably tie in with retirement.
So, but just to follow up on this, how widely are these advertised? Do they all go out on School Spring? I mean,
Oh,
if
yeah.
somebody outside of their little association,
Oh, yeah.
somebody in another state wants to,
Oh yeah, that I mean,
are they all out there?
on a couple of positions, we went into some of, New York City and things like that. And because it was very specific to that area. But so, yeah, we do. Carol could, if you ever want us to go deeper with this, Carol could get into that for us. But she
Okay.
does a fantastic job with that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Other questions for Tom?
Chris, if I could say just one more thing, and
Please,
this is,
sir.
and this has come up. Sharon O'Hearn is the counselor that remember Ann Teff got that grant for us, and so Ann put in for the grant for this year, and she didn't get the money, and our Mary in our student services department looked at some grants, put some requests out, and I think you know where I'm going. We got the funding for this program again, and so Mary and I have had conversations with Shannon. She'll be picking up some of the students that she worked with last year so successfully, and then we're going to be picking up a few other students. And I'm really pleased. She's really excited to do some group work, which will, I think, serve the needs of a few students that would work better in groups than individually. So that's thank you for continuing, almost all of you, for pushing all the time to make sure that we're looking for the resources to make sure we're taking care of our kids who need it most. And we're now looking at some other grants that maybe we can expand it even beyond this. So that's great news for the system. So thank you.
Tom, any other questions for Tom? Tom, you have a next duty this evening? Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, I do. And
Yeah.
I'm very, very pleased to be in a position where I can introduce Eileen Bellistock. She is our tech director, and very similar to what Mary went through. Eileen joined us in the summer, and her first assignment was to join the task force and put in about 50, 60 hours a week and 10-hour days. And as you can imagine, it was priceless for us because she brings such a rich technology background, and much of the work we were doing was relative to technology and other needs that we had. So she's going to go over a few things that she thinks that would be helpful for the board to know going into this, and I'll get out of the way. And Eileen, it's all yours.
Thank you, everyone, for inviting me tonight. This is I have truly enjoyed my 10 weeks here at Nauset Public Schools. So if you bear with me, I was going to have a little slide deck, if you don't mind. I'm going to share my screen.
Excellent.
Oh, the host has to enable it, though, first. So
Go ahead.
okay, great. There it is. Okay. You know, Tom said I have an extensive technology background, but I also have an extensive background in accounting. I was an accounting manager for 15 years with an accounting degree. I got into education when my kids were in school, became a high school math teacher, department chair, assistant principal, and principal at a high school. So I've kind of done all the roles in a school district, which I think has provided me with the skills necessary for what we are now calling ed tech leaders. We are no longer about the information technology, but we're also part of the instructional technology. So we are, I am a certified ed tech leader, nationally certified. I have 5 years experience as a director of technology, and really excited about what I hope to be able to bring to this district. So this is my philosophy, is it's instruction first, technology second. And I speak about this a lot, which is the triple E framework, which is technology needs to engage, enhance, and extend learning goals. It should not be a substitution or a plug-in for what's going on in the classroom. And even, especially now with the pandemic and remote learning and hybrid learning, it's really important. I think it's important that, you know, instructional strategies, learning goals, and purposeful tool selection all work together, so that, again, we're pulling the two sides of IT together to work to ensure student success. So my vision, or the vision of the district, is equitable access for students, for all students, which means whether it's connectivity, whether it's devices, whether it is just being able to personalized learning, so we're hitting our marginalized students or students with different backgrounds and different learning styles. And that's really important that, equal education is equal and equitable for all. Data privacy is kind of my baby. I'm really involved with making sure that whatever we're sharing with our vendors and on our software programs, that we're protecting our students, our teachers, and the rest of the staff. And in this world of free software that's being offered to teachers on a daily basis, it's becoming even more critical that we really focus on protecting our student data. I also believe in collaborative decision making. I don't make things in a silo, even though I am in one in this office. Every decision I make will involve parents, teachers, students, building principals, curriculum leaders. It's all about what we all bring to the table and our common goal to increase student capacity for learning. And again, personalized learning, we have students from every background, every learning style, and it's important that we're able to fit an education for all our students and make sure that they're able to be collaborative, creative, innovative, and one size does not fit all. We are not in, the old brick and mortar buildings. We are in a new age of learning for our students. So our challenges, which I also call opportunities, this is just what I'm observing in my conversations with different people in the district is, the technical skills of our staff and family. We've kind of thrown these, everybody got thrown into this in March, and it was more of a triage situation. And now we're really focusing on how can we support our teachers. Going into a remote environment or having a hybrid where you have students on a smart board working from home as well as students face to face is not an easy skill. They're very strong in content, and we're asking them to go above and beyond that to also be IT people in some cases. And we're looking at technical support for our remote learners, and that's where I've been really focusing on that with our tech integration specialists, the tech coordinators, to find out how we can support those families and students who are working from home and have questions that they need answered right away, or are very stressed about getting into a Google Meet or submitting work and things like that. And we have a real issue with older devices. We have to really start looking at, our replenishing of our devices. They're getting to the iPads are getting to the point where they are no longer able to update their iOS to a point where we can use the software available. One of my discussions with especially the middle and high school is looking at, if we're going to replace devices, maybe go into a Chromebook model. Which seems to be what I'm hearing from both the middle and high school, and having worked in districts where I brought Chromebooks to the district, I believe that that's probably more of a real world situation for our oldest students that can provide a lot more opportunities for them. And so we're looking at that. Again, it's funding. Funding is going to be a challenge. We had a lot of grants this past year, and we're hoping that we're going to continue with a lot of the grants that are for the upcoming year, but we have to also look in terms of what if we don't have the funding opportunities we had this past year. We don't want things to be a one and done, and give these teachers these tools they need to work with students and then not be able to continue on with them going forward. And the COVID-19 slide, this is where our students, they were out of school, they had learning happening, but not at the level they would have in a face-to-face environment. So we have to start assessing their learning skills, figuring out where there's gaps in their learning. And technology can do a lot of that. There's a lot of data we can collect through assessments, through looking at the whole child, and figuring out how best to support and put in remediation where we need to for all our students. And connectivity is, you know, some, especially at the high school, the building is just didn't have the connectivity we need. Connectivity for me includes Wi-Fi options at home. It includes our outdoor classrooms that are happening. How do we make sure that the students out there have connectivity? How do we make sure that the cafeteria where we might be holding classes at the high school has enough connectivity? Because there's nothing more damaging to learning is when you can't access it. So it's important that we take care of that. Our successes and our wins. We are 1-to-1 iPads pre-K through 12. Pre-K is in the process of getting iPads as we speak, which is going to really help support our pre-K students who are working from home. Student engagement. I've been talking to the principals and kids are excited to be at school. They are just overjoyed to be together. And I asked some questions about, well, what about our remote students? Well, the students who are remote with a remote teacher are still having that same excitement and engagement. So we understand that it's not, the technology is not a hindrance to student engagement and excitement. It can actually enhance it. Shared services. We know that we have some remote teachers who are working with Eastham and Wellfleet and trying to make sure that we have the best environment for our students. We've been working, my IT staff has been working like crazy, working on increasing bandwidth and Wi-Fi in the buildings. Ralph has been in every building assessing what needs to be done, running cables, adding access points wherever a teacher's needed, so that there is no downtime for learning. And at anytime, anywhere learning is happening, your student could be sitting in the classroom, he could be sitting outside in the courtyard with students, he could be at home, he could be anywhere and learning is happening, which is really what we want for our students. And honestly, coming to this district only 10 weeks ago, I really appreciated the support of the district and the school committees. The involvement and the dedication and the commitment to make sure that our students have what they need to learn is really, really appreciative, especially from a tech standpoint. So a couple more slides. Our initiatives. We are getting hotspots out to families. They're coming in. We have about 20 families right now who filled out forms and who are going to need connectivity. And what that's going to do is not only support the students' learning, but it's going to allow the entire family to have access to to the internet, which is huge for families right now who can't afford it. We're very excited about the product. We're working with Khajiit, which is an educational hotspot, and we're really excited. So we're just waiting for those to come in. Increased building tech support. This has been a big concern of the buildings. We have a middle school tech help person who is going back into retirement actually Friday, and we are creating a full-time person at the middle school so that we can better support the middle school as well. And what we're developing in our IT department is a team that can work across the entire district so that we can support, you know, wherever there's need, we have a team that can go in and support them. And this has been kind of something I've been working on a lot, is streamlining acquisition process. I came from a district that was 3 different districts that regionalized, but they were all local control. So I have some experience with how budgeting works and allocation of funds and costs. And so I've been working really hard with the principals on consolidating a lot of our licenses, our software licenses, into district level licenses that are allocated to the different schools. But what it does is it gives us a better price point. We get cheaper prices when we put them all under the same umbrella. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and it also allows us to focus on, you know, I look at the data privacy policies. I'm working with the vendors and saying, is this the best product for our teachers? And getting PD that helps. So having a district license for a lot of these things is really, really beneficial for our teachers. We are single sign-on. I don't know if you all know what that is, but it's a way for us to, when students sign into apps, they use their Google School credentials, which means they're not sharing their names, they're not sharing their email addresses, they're not sharing their date of birth, they're not sharing what grade they're in. So this is allowing us to have control over all the data about our students and only share the minimum amount with our vendors. We're also looking at Clever, which is in the process, which is going to be a launching pad where all our apps will be housed, and all students have to do is sign into Clever. Actually, it's for parents and students as well, and they'll automatically be able to access those apps, which means less passwords, less clicks, and a lot more security for our students. We're working on supports for the families and students. And again, I've been talking a lot with the speech pathologists and the special ed teachers and, you know, any kind of those support services. And it's important that we're teaching the whole child, and technology has come a long way. And there's a lot of ways that we can use technology to assess students, to support students, to make sure that they're getting the services they need. And lastly, empowering teachers. And this has really come to light with my tech integration specialists. To me, they're the experts in the building. And I'm working really hard at providing them with PD and support so that they can support the teachers. So the more we can provide training and opportunities for growth for our teachers and our tech integration specialists, the more the teachers can take ownership of their classroom, and they have a comfort level, and it'll just lend itself to doing the same thing for our students. So this is George Corus. I don't know if any of you know, he's a former superintendent, I believe, and he's written a lot of books on technology in classrooms and in education. And this is one of my favorite quotes from him is, technology will never replace great teachers, but in the hands of great teachers, it's transformational. So I totally believe that's true. And I always feel like we should never be talking about the technology when we're talking about education. It should almost be invisible. It should be there, but it shouldn't be the reason we're using a tool. The instruction should be the reason. And that is my presentation.
Excellent. Do we have any questions for Eileen? Judy? You're muted.
I know. I'm
Come
coming.
on now.
Where is she? There she is on
Right
my
here.
screen. I have to find her on my screen. First of all, a very big welcome.
Thank
It's
you.
very nice to see you here. I'm in awe of what you have done or started in 10 weeks. And having been somebody that in a former life used to be involved in IT before it was even called IT, that's how long ago it was. I know what you have on your plate. So I'd like to add one more thing to your plate.
Okay. I'm going to take notes.
Just in case you have a free moment here and there. And this is a request, but it's almost a plea.
Okay.
Could we please do something about the Nauset website?
Yes.
It is, I'm sorry, not attractive. And it is one of the most user unfriendly places. And not everybody is on social media. And Twitter isn't where you go to find out some of these things. And I just think it's a great resource. We have great schools, and that website is not what we deserve.
And I agree. And interestingly, when I was, when I'm interviewing position, I like to look at the website and kind of get a feel for the school. And I kept saying, if I get this job. It will be a work in progress. One of the challenges for me has been I've come from other districts that use different student information systems, and they use different messaging systems, and they use different website platforms. So I am learning as we go. My goal is to get more, I'd like to have almost like a webmasters in every building that can work, but we want a uniform look to the website. And I think the first thing to do is what do we want our website to reflect about us? So I totally agree with you. And it is on my list. It's funny, it's one of the first things that some of the staff at central office said when I came in is like, you're gonna fix our website, right? So,
Okay, Tom. Okay, my assessment, she's a keeper. Thank you very much.
thank you.
And thanks for your work. It's critical always, but especially now. So
I have the greatest team to work with, both the administrators at central office, my IT team, and what I call my techs and buildings. And I meet with them all the time, and they are such a bright group of people that I am honored to be working with them. So
good to hear. Thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Other questions? Yes, Robert. Rob.
hi,
Hello, welcome aboard.
thank you.
Sounds great. I guess a couple of quick questions. One, when will be the next time we would get to see you in terms of following up with some of your plans and seeing how they've developed or progressed? Are you going to be, planning on coming back? Because you're always invited. And I'm sure I speak for everyone that we'd love to get another follow-up in a few months.
I love that.
And secondly, I know there's a bunch of free websites out there that teach people how to program and whatnot. And I wonder if maybe in the website, or if there was some way we could get some of the more technologically inclined students to help or independent study, or offer some parts of the webpage that they could be responsible for, again, throwing it out there, but just, I know that there's a lot of younger people who would love to do that. And if there was some way to maybe combine, I don't know where they would fall in the hierarchy here, but just want to throw it out there.
And you know what, honestly, I did that in my prior districts. I really, so I was always, my last district, I was housed in the high school, and I spent most of my time in the library talking to people. And, I had students on my tech committee. I had students doing help desk. I love that. I was talking about empowering teachers. I really want to empower the students. Absolutely. They're much smarter than I am. Honestly, you got to know where your strengths are, and you got to know where your people are. And absolutely, I would love that. I think, this is a really different year. I'm not used to sitting in an office. I'm used to being in all the buildings and plopping myself down in the library and getting to see kids. And this has been a really unusual year. But I'm starting to get out, and I think once Chris's building is up and going, we will start that conversation with Chris. And absolutely, it's not the work of one; it's the work of all. So I think it's a great idea.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, Dick.
Yeah, Eileen, to follow up on that last thought, I was at a high school council meeting last winter, and this question of the website came up. The students and the teachers who I've heard address it think that it should be a lot better than it is. And I got the impression from the student who spoke that if you let the students take over the job of describing the high school on that webpage, I think they do work that we'd all be proud of.
Oh, I agree. Do you have their names?
So I think Chris would be.
I will email them tomorrow. No, I agree. Who better to represent our school and our website than our students?
Yeah.
And I think I have a quick story. When I came to my last district, I decided to get to know the kids. So I took the 7th graders. I did an hour of code with them. And if you know coding at all, the younger kids are doing like block coding, where they just move in the blocks to create some kind of code. I had been an AP computer science teacher, so I wanted to, I knew what I could do with these kids. So I started off doing the block because that's what they have been doing. About halfway through the classes, they were bored. They were like, we've done this before. So I pulled out Python and I gave them some activities to do try in Python. And it was amazing. The kids who struggled were helped by the kids who got it. The kids who couldn't figure out the steps found ways around in their own way to get to the same goal. So I think we don't always give our students, even the younger students, enough credit. And we need to tap into them because it's all about real world applications, project-based learning. And I think it's fantastic. So
Well,
if you have names, send them my way.
Students at that high school, if you put a bunch of them together, they would do something pretty phenomenal.
And it's free labor, so I'm all over it. So absolutely, Dick, I think that's a great idea.
Excellent. Other questions for Eileen? All right, well, thank you.
Was I that good? Wow.
You were better than that even.
Wow. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if any of you want to talk more. I love talking tech. I love talking education, and I would love to come back. I present a lot anyway, so I'm really comfortable, as you can see, in front of a screen. So.
Excellent, excellent. We will have you back actually on a regular basis. So we'll set up a calendar and schedule you so we get you back on a regular basis so we can keep up with what you're up to.
Hey, okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Eileen. We appreciate it. All righty. Looking back at our agenda here, we are moving on. We've already, oh my God, only agenda item B. But thankfully, we've already gotten that done. We move on to priority business agenda item C, October enrollment.
So Chris, I'll take that.
All right, Tom.
I believe everybody has received the report in your packet. So a couple of things are happening here. There is one big change and at this point, you're the first group to look and see this. I actually have had to field numbers of questions relative to what was last year's enrollment compared to this year's enrollment. And so you can see when you look at the front page, you're looking at the top section, of course, and that's representing the elementary schools first. And you can see that they are listed by grade. And then you can see that the red number is indicating what the number was last year. And the dark colored numbers are October 1 numbers for this year. And you play it all the way out. And we actually added a column at the far right that does the work for you in terms of understanding at that school what has happened to the overall enrollment, whether it's gone up or down. The same exercise took place with the middle school, and I am very, very well aware of some of these additional boxes that we've added to this are very, very small, and so I'm not so sure this will be the final document. The data will be the same, but whether we add some size to some of these numbers so that people can read them a little bit better is still a discussion for us. But you can follow the middle school. This is, and by the way, for the veterans, this is exactly the same model that we have been using for a number of years in how we report our enrollments. Then obviously you move down into the high school. In the far left, you're seeing the summary of our numbers from a system standpoint. And you can also see we carried the last year numbers and the current numbers for October 1 all the way down to the bottom. We're attempting in the very, very bottom there we think that adding the number of students who are being homeschooled and potentially the few kids that are going to private school, in many cases, have something to do with the current situation we have with the virus and so forth. And then when we go to the second page, that is the historical report relative to both the high school and the middle school, and gives you some indications of where our students are going. It lists the Lighthouse Charter School, the Sturgis School, the Tech School. And I think this is something that we need to dig into as we move forward. The superintendent's reaction to these numbers, quite honestly, I wasn't surprised by hardly anything on here. Slightly surprised that at Sturgis we're only sending 10 kids. I think that's the lowest number we've sent in a long, long time. I was, from the day one, concerned about our choice numbers, particularly the students who were coming from the farthest distances. As you know, we draw students from Bourne all the way out to Provincetown. I was concerned with particularly freshmen having to travel to the distance to Nauset in their freshman year, and the reaction of parents in terms of wanting to keep their kids closer to home. And I think that's a financial discussion that we'll have down the road. There's no question to that. But overall, I didn't see a lot of surprises from my thinking that started last winter in terms of where might we be considering the virus situation. So I'm sure this will enter into our budget deliberations, which are just getting geared up at this point, and we will be revisiting these numbers multiple times through the process as we go forward. So this is just the first look. This is not the final analysis of where we are with these numbers. And as you can imagine, a lot of work has to go into this in terms of getting it accurate and running down all of the partners that we deal with, all the various locations that kids go outside of the district as well. And we're very confident that this is accurate at this point, and we're pleased with the work of getting it finished. So thank you.
Excellent. Questions for Tom? Yes, Ian.
Hey, Tom. Last year when we looked at the enrollment numbers, I was looking at the middle school trend, and middle school, as we look at it, 2007, living in district, we're at 460. 2020, living in district, we're at 488. So if anything, it's fluctuated, but it's been a very steady number.
Yeah.
But then we go and we look at the high school enrollment numbers, and of course we see a change there as the enrollment has gone continually down.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, with kids going to, I think we have several options. Sturgis here on the Cape, we have private school, obviously, and we have the tech. But is that data showing us that we're losing that many more kids off to those schools, or more kids attending private schools? Or why is the middle school staying so steady, and why is the high school dropping so precipitously?
I'd have to do some work with that to give you a deep understanding from the research over many years. But we know right away that the high school has a number. When you're at the high school level, you have a number of other options. And one that does not surprise me is the number of kids that are going to tech this coming year. And so the options get spread out, so they're not glaring, but with the students having different possibilities, and some kids are making those choices. The tech for us was not a surprise at all. I mean, they are going into a state-of-the-art facility. And we anticipated that would be attractive for more kids. Remember, we are the only high school on the Lower Cape, or even into the Mid Cape areas, that allows a tech school to talk to our kids. They're locked out of all the other districts. We think it's an important program for the right student in our district to be able to take advantage of that. And along those lines, I have mentioned to you a couple of times last year about working with Bob Sanborn, the superintendent at the tech school, and their autonomous automotive programs going forward, matching up with the work that we're doing with autonomous cars and drones and so forth. I think it's very, very safe to say that we're going to continue to look at that partnership to see what we can do to come even closer together with a technical school going forward. The final answer, just to make sure I get that for you, is I'll spend some more time on looking at that, just that question, Ian, and see if I can get you an answer.
Yeah, okay, because I do think, it will be important for us to understand. I mean, I think as everybody looks at those numbers for the middle school, we see a pretty consistent enrollment. So it'd be interesting to find out just what is going on. So,
thank you.
Yes, Tom.
Yeah.
Tom Fitzgibbon, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's got his hand up, his mute button's on, though he's talking to himself again. But other than that.
I've been accused of boiling things down to fit on a bumper sticker. I look at it as we lost 50 students overall in the regional or the middle of the high school. Half of them were choice. And 13 of them were from Truro and P-Town. That's not good news because those are darn near full paying students. But it leaves a gap of 12 students, and maybe they are the in-district students, and I don't look at that as big a fall off. And then you've got 34 of those 50 students have migrated to the Lighthouse and to Cape Cod Tech. I mean, I don't know. And the trends seem to show and have been trending, because when I was at FinCom, I was looking at the numbers that they come back to the high school.
Yeah.
The Lighthouse or the middle school kids. So I don't know. I think a lot of this, as you say, is COVID related with the migration to places closer. The Cape Cod Tech is, state of the art. And in some circles, the choice fall off is probably would be seen. I'm just wondering how that may correlate to our profitability. That I've always thought that there was a balance of a statistical equilibrium, or whatever the heck you want to call it, of where that point was. Is it 23% of the students to make it, or can you do it on 18? And I think maybe we can delve closer to figuring out what that number is. I have some thoughts, but I'm not going to bore everybody with them. But I think maybe we should start nudging closer to that.
I think you're exactly right. I do. And I've heard that from a couple of other board members in other towns. And so I look forward to that work. And I certainly.
Yeah, and maybe certain circles will understand that we're putting and I know a lot of deliberation goes into where and the placement of choice and the grades and the levels. But maybe we can refine it a little and put some of those criticisms at bay.
I look forward to that, Tom.
Thank you.
Other question? Yes, Dick.
So related to what Tom Fitzgibbons was asking about, I don't know. I see this number here. The choice students, 46 last year, 37 this year. I mean, are we falling short of the target that we're trying to get to fill those available seats? To me, I was a little surprised to see that number.
So all I can tell, Dick, is we're going to get, I'm just trying to get these in your hands and begin to have a dialogue, but we're gonna dissect these numbers 10 times over before we get to the budget season. So, but I can tell you that, I've shared my thoughts with a number of people in our building from the very beginning that I think the choice number was in danger from the beginning in terms of particularly the distances that we begin to talk about and the hardships that it causes parents with the busing question. Remember, we were running a bus of almost 70 students out of exit 6 last year out of Burger King on a daily basis. That bus could haul about 20 students this year. And so I think all these things have factors in terms of parents' decisions and in terms of, do they want to, in the middle of this virus, want their kids venturing off? And I think in some cases, parents are decided not this year.
Okay.
So that's my opinion. And it'll be interesting to dig deeper into this to see if I'm accurate.
Well, what's the number that what was the target number for 2020?
I'd have to go back into some of the numbers from last year, Dick. But I'm more than glad to see if I can get that for you.
Thanks, Tom.
Judy?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Richard said, while I think that these numbers are interesting and informative, I think we should be cautious on what we think they're informing us about. This is anything but a normal year.
Exactly.
And if we didn't meet our so-called target
Yep.
that we set before COVID has turned everything upside down. People are making decisions, short-term decisions, perhaps for their own reasons. But I think this year's is an outlier. I don't think that you can take these numbers and say that this is the beginning of a trend. So I think while they're interesting and we need to obviously use these numbers for budget purposes, I think it's not realistic to say we felt short of a target. So I think we should be cautious on what we think that these numbers are informing us about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Any other questions for Tom? Yes, Tom Fitzgibbons.
Just the last comment. Last night what came up was 58,000. We saved $58,000 of people that we didn't send out on choice. So, maybe that's 11 students. So 10 or 11 students in the enrollment stayed with the district instead of going out. And I don't know how many we send out, but maybe that's a good sign to factor in.
Sure.
Other questions? I'll make one quick point. I mean, I'm not sure about anybody else, but at least in my town, there's a lot more people. And I think that we are in an abnormal time now. And so people's habits are different and what they're doing are different and keeping their kids at home and whatever. But I think the net for the future, once COVID is solved by our society, is that there are more people currently living on the Cape. And in turn, there will be more students for us to educate when things get back to what our hopefully new normal will be actually normal. And so I think that, it's just looking at it, the homeschooling, whatever, you take the numbers, there are more kids out there. And I think they're going to need public education at some point in time. And we just got to make sure our quality education is still available for them. Any other questions for Tom? We move on then to our next item here. Priority business D, budget dashboard report, FY21. Giovanna.
Thank you.
Good evening. Lovely to see you.
Good evening. Thank you. The subcommittee met on Tuesday evening and we dove into the dashboard and we covered it extensively. So I'm going to highlight the areas of importance on the first couple of pages. And then if there's any questions, I'll take questions from the committee. So starting on page 3 of the dashboard report, we began the year with a fund balance of $1,394,416. The Department of Revenue certified our free cash in the amount of $1,352,694. That's because there were items that we had deficits in that were not included in the certification of the free cash. Okay. The funding source savings, that is the savings on what we anticipate or are projecting for sources of revenue. And I want to bring to your attention that the charter school aid that we are anticipating receiving this year is substantially higher than what we had budgeted. In addition to that, the state changed its calculation of that aid. So in fiscal 20, we had 61 students that were attending the charter school. Now that's jumped up to 74 students. So it's 13 additional students. And that is reflective of an increase of $345,816 to the benefit of the district for those students that are going outside to the charter school. The other item that impacts this amount is the number of students that we are getting from Truro and P-Town under the tuition in agreement. When we prepared the budget last year, we had budgeted for 91 students from Truro. As of September, we have 84.5 students, and that reflects a reduction of 6.5 students. The P-Town, we had budgeted for 21 students. We have 23 students, so that reflects an increase of 2 students. So the net between the two is a reduction of 4.5 students. And so the 4.5 students, right now we're looking at a deficit in the Truro and P-Town tuition of $91,345. Okay. And as you may recall, during the budget process, I reached out to both Truro and P-Town for an estimate of a number of students that they anticipate will be attending Nauset. And these numbers came in slightly less than what they had provided, because they also have to budget on their books for their expenses for the kids coming to Nauset. Okay. The revolving funds, currently we have a couple of funds that have.
Ivana, you're on page 5 now?
No, I'm still on page 3. Are you on page 5?
Yeah, I just got this screwed up. Okay, you're on page 3. Okay, go ahead.
I'm still on page 3. So the deficit in the revolving accounts of $99,816 is comprised of 4 revolving accounts that have deficits in them. So one of them is the community education. That program has stopped. And the reason for the deficit is that there's no programming right now. There hasn't been programming since schools were closed in March. Therefore, there's no revenue coming in. We still had expenses in there, but now the program has stopped. We also had a deficit in the extended special education extended school year of $73,798, and that's due to the timing of the receipts from the elementary. So next month, that should be a positive balance. And then we also had a negative variance in the middle school building use. Again, the buildings were shut down. There's no outside organizations coming in and renting the facilities. Therefore, we still have some expenses that are being charged there, but there's no revenue. The same with the high school summer school. We had some expenses there, but there's no revenue coming in from there. Okay, so right now we're looking at a projected E&D balance of $1,549,093. And again, this will fluctuate as we go through the school year, depending upon if we have any other movement in the Truro and P-Town tuitions, either adding or students leaving. And we'll review this, every month. Any questions on this section of the dashboard?
I have, Giovanna, I've just got one question on page 3.
Yes,
The bonds, the bands. So it shows 6/30/2019, we've got $806,650 for band, as well as this year also 6/30. What we still have bands going on?
yes, that is the bond anticipation notes for the feasibility study at the high school.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So
Okay, those are set to renew this month. Currently, we're just paying interest on those bond anticipation notes. Once the high school project comes to fruition, we'll include that with the bonding.
okay, I got you. I understand. It didn't make sense what they were. Thank you.
Yes. And then the other long-term bonds is the bonds that we took out for the
Windows and
roofs
roof.
at the high school and the roof at the middle school.
Thank you.
Let's move on to page 4 of the dashboard. So the
Okay.
top section details what's been expended, encumbered, and the current balances in the various line item budgets of the district. Right now, we are not projecting any end of year balances. It's too early. We project in February. But we have encumbered all of the salaries at this point. We've encumbered all the substitutes. We've encumbered all of the utilities. Anything that we could encumber has been done. Again, these budgets will fluctuate depending upon what's happening in each of the respective buildings, with respect to personnel, substitutes, et cetera. But I can tell you that in the region-only budget, we did have substantial savings in transportation. We received invoices from the collaborative, so we've got some savings in transportation as a result of the shutdown. We were given credits in fiscal 21 from fiscal 20, so that is substantial. We also had some positive variance in the school choice tuition, the less students going out of the district. And we also have some savings in special education at the present time. Again, that will fluctuate as we go through the school year. Okay. Any questions on the top section of page 4? The next section, we talked about this when I was reviewing page 3, the funding sources. And again, here you can see the charter school aid, the year-end balance. We're going to have an increase of $345,816 as compared to what we had budgeted, and that is due to the additional 13 students that are going to the charter school. The other item here is the negative variance in the Toro and P-Town tuition of $91,345. Any questions on page 4? So moving on to page 5. Page 5 at the top of the page details the various revolving funds that met the criteria, as well as the revolving funds that have deficits at the present time, negative variances. Any questions on the revolving funds? And then the next section is the various grants that we have. We have the IDA grant, the Title I, the COVID relief grant. That is a new grant this year, and that is based upon the number of students in each of the various communities. Not all of that belongs to the region. And the ESSA grant, $252,505. Again, that is not all of the districts. It includes all of the elementaries as well, because those grants come through central office. Any questions on this page?
So look, Giovanna, can I ask you something? I just wanted to ask you about the charter school aid.
Yes.
That was on this page, wasn't it?
No, that was on page 4.
Yeah, could you just explain that line item and what the balance is and the percent of the budget projected?
Sure. When we were preparing the budget for fiscal '21, we look at what the previous year amounts were, and the state gives us some guidance as what we can anticipate next year for the charter aid. And that's all based on the number of kids that are going out of the district to the charter schools. And previously they had a percentage where the first year you would be held harmless, and then it was a sliding scale. I think it was over 4 or 5 years, but they've changed their allocation. We'll get you some more paperwork on that for the next meeting. I don't have that with me. But so we projected $58,154. And based upon these new numbers and the state's recalculation, we're anticipating that we will be receiving what we received to date, $9,250 plus an additional $394,720. So if you look at what we expect to receive, what we received to date, and what we budgeted, we're going to get up $345,816 more than what we had budgeted.
Well, so what did the state do differently?
They changed the formula. So it looks like we're getting more upfront.
Okay.
All right, we'll get some more information on that for our next meeting.
Sometime I'll speak to you separately about that so I understand how these numbers work better.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to page 6, we've got the financing at the top, which is, we talked about that, the high school green repair and the middle school roof. We also have the capital articles. We continue to make progress on the capital projects. We also have the FY21 new capital articles in here as well. So we've spent or encumbered to date $18,056 of capital projects. And we've also got information on the feasibility study for the high school, and as well as the budget and what we've expended and received from MSBA below. And then the next couple of pages detail any variances that we have in the various line item budgets. So if you have any, I'm not going to go through all of them. So if you have any questions, I can entertain any of your questions.
Any questions for Giovanna? Yeah, Ian? Was that one? Sorry? No? Okay. Anybody? It was simple there. Thank you, Giovanna. Connie, are you going up next? Are we going to review?
Yes, Connie's up next.
Yeah.
All right, Connie.
I was
hello.
going to, and I apologize. I know the fiduciary funds are in that package. I don't have the page in front of me. I was going to go right to the cash balances summary. From my memory, the fiduciary funds are our OPEB. We just did our contribution to OPEB, so that's why we're over $1 million. And then the other balances are shown on that page as well. On the next page, which is the cash balance summary, I know the last time we spoke, we were going to speak about interest rates. Unfortunately, interest rates are horrible, and they will be for a number of years. The Fed has released a couple of articles that said that they want to keep the rates as close to zero as they can, probably through 2023, and that's because of inflation. So unfortunately, the best bank, or what the bank I was comfortable with its status, its financial status, its health, was Century Bank, and they're offering us the 0.56%. So the bulk of our money is in that account. You will see on this page that the vendor account and the payroll account also have a higher balance, but that is purely a timing issue. We had payroll due on October 1st, and we have warrants due, and because of that, I had to move the money into those accounts to fund all of those. I don't keep that much money in those accounts. It's just because it was on September 30th, I moved the money, and this is as of September 30th. So I don't know if there's any questions, if anybody has any questions, but again, unfortunately for interest rates, we're in a situation where I don't see this becoming much better for a number of years. And I will continue to keep on looking at different banks and different rates to see if they have specials or if there's something that somebody will give us, maybe an extra kick. But unfortunately, this is where we are right now. And I know I mentioned this last time too, but when it comes to our banks, I always make sure that the status, I check their Veribank status to make sure that they're healthy, they're solid, and our money is protected in those banks. if anybody has any questions.
Questions for Connie?
Okay, so we'll go on to the
None?
next page, and I'll make this quick as well. This is the dashboard. As you can see, we are through September. August is a good month because August kind of gives us a clearer picture of what we can forecast for the rest of the year. In August, at the end of the column, you'll see our balance was a little low, but that is because we did pay our OPEB out, and we had a couple of Barnstable County assessments we had to pay out as well. In September, however, you will see that we received our assessments from the neighboring towns, from the including towns. That allows us again to kick our balance back up. Our bulk of our money does come from those assessments, and based on the DESI budget of the 1/12 budget, it's a little more than what we thought, but that's because they had rolled in the capital portion as well. In December, Giovanna will readjust what's due, and it'll be a little less, but we're budgeted for $24,144,549 for assessments, which is the bulk of our money. And as you continue going down the column, you'll see our cash disbursements is kind of where I thought it would be. Our payrolls are where I thought they would be. And I do think those are under control. So at the end of September, we have $6,823,349. And it's tough to tell this year, but I'm optimistic that hopefully we can carry that through for the full year and do well and have a good E&D by the end of the fiscal year. And Chris, you beat me to it, but I was going to talk about bands as well. But
Gotcha. Sorry, excellent.
So at the end of this month, we have a band that is going to mature in November. And if anybody, I don't know if everybody's familiar, but a band is a bond anticipation note. It's basically a short-term interest-bearing security that's issued in advance of a bond. They're a little more flexible. You can pay them down, you can pay them off. The good thing about them is you usually get a lower interest rate. So this past year, we've been paying 1.7% on our band. I'm hoping because interest rates are so low, we will get a better borrowing interest rate for that as well. So on October 28th, I'm going to have a bid sale. Different banks call in, give me the best rate that they can give us for this band. And by then, by the end of the day, we pick an interest rate, obviously the lowest one. I send it to our financial advisor, and we will roll this band over for another year. When the FY22 budget rolls around, we'll decide, depending on if construction passed or didn't pass, what we have to pay for paying down, and then roll it into the bond for the future. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Connie? No, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You do a great job, Connie. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Giovanna, I do have just one question for you. Sorry, Tom had talked about all the getting 2 retirements a week. And I'm sure we've got either, is it substitutes coming in for them, or are we hiring for those positions? My question really is, what is the impact of that going to be on our balance sheet? Is it going to
Chris, I want to jump in on it before.
Sure,
Gio.
sorry.
So when I'm saying 2, it's 2 across the district, not necessarily just the region.
Okay. But does that, I mean, I know in the past we've had, you lose mid-year, you've got to put in substitutes, and it can get expensive. It's not accounted for. I mean, what will the net of that be on our budget?
So I think probably by the next meeting, we're into our November meeting. I think that we could do some analysis of what has happened to this point and give you a report on that.
Okay.
What we're seeing, and how's it trending in terms of, is it costing us money, or are we saving money?
Okay, excellent. That'd be appreciated.
Yep.
All righty. Any other questions here? So let me get back to my agenda over here. All right, we move on to priority business E, capital asset reclassification. And I must apologize. The last meeting, I did not take a vote on this, and we had already passed it in our in the capital asset committee. So I apologize, Giovanna. Would look for a motion to approve the reclassification.
So moved.
It's been moved by Ed. Looking for a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Amy. Any discussion? Any questions?
Could you just briefly explain what this reclassification does?
Giovanna, would you like to do that?
Certainly, certainly. There is certain line items that have negative balances where we've overspent. So this is just a reclassification, moving funds from, we're transferring into middle school general repairs where we have a negative balance, and we're reducing the areas where we have positive balances to cover the deficit in the general repairs. And then the same with the second section there, we're covering deficits in the phone system and repairs to the slate roof that came in higher than what was budgeted in the capital plans, and we're taking them out of the classroom furniture.
Yeah. Hey, look, that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move to immediate vote then. It's a roll call vote. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Judy,
Yes. Yes.
Tom, how do you vote?
Yes.
Excellent. Josh,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Ian,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Welcome, John. How do you vote? I hate to say it, you're labeled on my screen as Ann, though.
Sorry, Ann. That's a yes for me, please.
All right. Rob, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. All right. Thank you. We move on then to priority business F, the budget timeline. Tom, you're taking this, sir?
I think Geo is, so.
Oh, somebody mislabeled my agenda.
Yeah, we switched. We wanted to screw you up.
Giovanna.
Thank you. So this is the calendar for the major events that are going to be happening over the upcoming year with respect to the budget process. So going through, we start with the October 1st, the enrollment projections. So we have those. We await the town's budget guidelines. We've got to be announced. We'll get those in the next couple of weeks. The budget input forms, we usually send those out to the principals. We have a target date of October 26th. And then they work on it. We expect the budget and complete backup materials back to central office the week of November 23rd. So the superintendent and I can review. We schedule meetings between myself, the superintendent, and each of the building principals the week of December 2nd through the 15th to review all of their budgets, ask questions, etc. We have on here the central office budget subcommittee. We have 2 meeting dates to review the central office budget, November 18th and December 2nd. Usually we do that budget in 2 meetings. The final budget documents I do back to the central office the week of December 18th from the building principals after we've sat and reviewed and asked questions. The school committee meetings are all scheduled to review the budget. So we're hoping to have these all out to the committee in January, starting with the first meeting of the region on January 7th, which time we'll hand out the books electronically this year. We'll go through the budgets and the principals will also discuss their operating budgets and justifications to the committee. And we'll go through that a couple of meetings. And that would bring us up to the joint school committee meeting where we vote the central office budget. Then we go on to the public hearings in February, starting with the region on the 11th of February. And then Tom and I meet with the various Board of Selectmen and FinComs regarding the region budget. And then at the March meeting, we the school committee votes to approve and certify the budgets. We don't have the dates for the various town meetings yet, or the town elections, or when the warrants close, so that'll be forthcoming. We'll add to that as we have that information available to us. So that's our agenda for the next few months. Any questions?
Excellent. Anyone? Yes, Judy.
Yeah, wait a minute. I am unmuted. I didn't. Just one comment, but not really a question. I am assuming that a lot of the budget formulation is based on what we get from the town's budget guidance. The town says we can go up 5%, we go up 5%. It says we can go up 1.5%. That's what we aim for. Is that correct? Is my assumption correct?
We certainly take that into consideration.
Okay. So here's my comment. When the budgets come to us, we don't know all of the discussions. We're not involved in it. So we're not a part of the decision-making process to that date. So when we're asked to come and look at it and make an informed decision as to whether to pass this budget or not, there is a lot we don't know. Understandably so. I get why the process is what it is. However, what I've found in the 3 years that I've done this that's lacking is basically we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what teachers have requested or what they think they need or what principals have requested or what they think they need. We know what the result is after the discussions have taken place, but we don't know what's been left off the table. So it would be helpful, I think, in the discussions when we get the budgets in January, if this could somehow be part of the discussion. We would really like to bolster up the math department in the middle school, but we can't do it because we don't have enough money to get a new math teacher. We would really like to, whatever it is, but we can't do it because the resources aren't there for that. We have had to cut X program because there was no longer the money for it. So, because we don't know that, and I would like to know what we're not funding. What's really would improve education, would improve the learning opportunities, would improve our operations, but we can't do because we don't have the funds. And I think the towns should know that. I think that the towns and the citizens should know, because we're, especially this year, where everybody seems intent on restricting budgets, what they're not going to get because of this. I think that's almost as important as what's in.
So we can certainly keep that in mind as we go through the process with the variety of people who are involved with this, Judith, and probably it probably makes some sense to do it on a timely basis so that, as you know, we're moving forward. We're not waiting to give you all of that in one fell swoop at the very end. So we'll look at that. That's a little bit different than what you've done, and I think we can pull it off and get you that information.
Because I will be asking that question. I just feel we haven't had an override in this district. Nobody can seem to remember when the last one was, because every time the question is asked, it's like it was a century ago. If we have been stuck with 2.5% for 10 or 15 years, there has got to be a lot of compromises that have been made. There has got to be a lot that has been left off the table. And maybe rightly so, but I think that it should be acknowledged, and I think we should know that.
Okay.
Ian?
Just a thought, when the budget's distributed and we look at the spreadsheet as it were, maybe we can just see what was removed. I mean, you guys could, I'm sure at some point somebody compiles their wish list, it goes in, and then things are stricken from it and removed. Maybe they don't have to be physically removed. They could be struck through and like in the budget, we see a reasoning for it. I know there's more work involved in that, but I think that might lead to us having the information available and also see the entire picture at the same time. So just a thought.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes, Tom.
Well, maybe do a level funding budget, add whatever, the 2.5% in, and that's what you're getting extra, and where is that going? And then where's the gap between what you want to do? Just
Gotcha. Excellent. Other thoughts? Other questions? I've got just a concept here, and that would be that, I'm sure as the principals are doing the budgets and putting them together, that there is, they're going through a mental process of, we have some weaknesses here, we need to strengthen that up and whatever. If we could get a write-up that came with the budgets on just the thought processes that they went through when they were developing the budgets, it might be helpful and give us some indication on, where they're thinking, what their needs are, what they perceive their needs to be, and how that has impacted the budget for that coming year.
Yeah, I mean, the veterans of this board know that we have a significant cost associated with personnel. And I think we were talking somewhere between 91 to 93% at one of the schools and the other. And then you're talking about the additional cost of some of the services that we have to have. We're not talking about a lot of changes here. But we're more than glad. I think this could be an interesting, because we're going to do it anyways. It's just a matter of gathering that information for you. Yeah.
Are there some programs you can sunset, Tom?
I would think so. And we might take a peek at that.
And replace them with what?
Yeah.
You probably do that anyway.
Yeah, we really do. So.
Okay.
So then, Chris.
Judy. I'm sorry, Dick, Judy.
Well, me,
Judy, I'm sorry, Judy, you had a question? I saw your hand up first. I apologize.
Yeah, the thing is that I hope that people don't feel constrained to come up with creative ideas and innovation because they don't think there's the money there. Maybe the money isn't there, but I think that the discussion of what more we could do or what else we could do or what we could do differently or whatever, I'm sure the teachers out there have an abundance of ideas, and it would be good to have that discussion. That's all.
Gotcha. Dick?
Yeah, so I think related to what Judy said is that I think that the way I understand what Judy's saying is that we'd like to kind of get a sense for what the trade-offs are in the budget that was presented to us. If there's increased funding, let's say for the math department, does that mean that the history department had to take a hit? The school really prioritizes, it seems, the world languages. So I think what we're saying is that we'd like to see more about what the trade-offs are and what departments might need some help.
Maybe it's as basic and you can see that we got a little bit of time. Are we following the guidelines that the communities are giving us going forward? And I haven't seen those guidelines, but I would be glad to share it with the board for a discussion relative to the feelings relative to those numbers. And I think we would have time to have that conversation. But that has been something that the communities have looked for in terms of trying to hit that percentage increase. And so that's where we'll start. I think that's a good starting point to understand that.
Just on that note, Tom, while we haven't gotten the written notice, we have been we were met at the Budget and Finance Committee by the head of the select board in Orleans, who gave an indication that they're looking to save every cent they possibly can this year.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, looking,
Chris?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I had my hand up.
Oh, I apologize, John.
No problem.
I thought you were Ann.
I changed my name.
Come on.
No offense, Ann. Just a question for the committee and Tom. Will we, as a board, have an opportunity to voice our concerns going into a budget preparation? Whether it be, over the last 24 months, we've talked about, a facilities manager.
Yep.
Should we be addressing that need and asking you to address that need? Or, we always talk about, last year, we talked about the assistant superintendent position. What kind of feedback, Tom, are you looking for from the committee? Or when would be the time to provide that feedback?
I think that with a number of the comments, including yours, John, I think when Judy and Chris and I sit down for the planning of the next meeting, I think we need to build something into this for a discussion, and give some direction to one, we always want to know generally what does the board want us to head towards in terms of a number. And then obviously we can have some discussion about some prior budget items that have never really surfaced to the top in terms of the board's feelings about what those are, and asking the superintendent and the business director to consider that in the deliberations relative to the formation of the budget, right? So I think we have time by backing this schedule off some. I think for the first time we'll have that opportunity in the next meeting, for instance.
That would be fabulous if we could have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Other questions, comments? All right. Going back to our agenda, I see we are on our harassment policy, agenda item H. Oh, I apologize, Barbie. I'm on G. Ian?
Yeah. That's mine. Thanks.
Yes, I know.
So this is a day that I hope never came during my tenure as your superintendent, but it has, and I'm happy for Ann and her family, as she is going to be retiring at the end of this month. And I had to write some notes down here just so that I kept it fairly brief, because I could go on for a long time about the work of this lady. But she'll be stepping aside and hopefully having a great opportunity to see her grandchildren and travel and live life. So a couple thoughts that I bring to this announcement is that there's no one, and I've been in this game a long time, that works any harder than Ann Teff. She is dedicated beyond what any of you ever understood in terms of her commitment to it. She juggled so many tasks that I seem to have in the air all the time, and always with a smile. And during so many of these situations that a superintendent deals with, both positive and negative, she always had a smile, and she always treated everyone with great dignity and poise. If I had to sum up my feelings about Ann's work during my tenure as a superintendent, I can tell you that if you were to look at my 6 years and hopefully find some successes that I've had during that period of time, I can tell you that Ann Teff has a part of the reason of that success. She's a phenomenal individual, and I have been blessed to be able to work with her during these almost 6 years. So Ann, I want to say so many thanks to you, and I owe you more than I ever could give back. And thank you for all the service you gave to Nauset and to our communities and to this board. Thank you very much.
I don't want to say anything, but I don't think that the Zoom meeting celebrations are as good as they are in person for whatever. It's shameful because, Ann, you deserve it. You deserve an in-person, whatever, buffet gourmet meal and so forth. So I feel somewhat we were depriving you of your just desserts because you definitely have earned it. And you will be missed. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. It's been my honor and my privilege to work with all of you. I love Nauset. I am going to fight really hard for a good quality education in Nauset because I have grandchildren that will benefit from it. So I appreciate everything you do. I know the hard work, and I've enjoyed working with all of you.
All right. Thank you, Ann. And
Thank you very, very much.
I'd like to work tomorrow.
Kiss the grandbabies for us when you get on the coast.
It's worth it.
So, I am pleased. We're blessed to have some excellent people in our office, and through a lot of discussion and time, we have made some decisions relative to the switches that will happen in our office. And I'm really pleased to nominate for your vote for the secretary's position, Arlen Consiglio. And she has been, as some of you might know, the secretary for Ann Teff. And she is going to be moving up to fill the seat that Ann has at this time, and we're beginning that process. Ann has been gracious to be working on the training. That's well in place, and I have every reason to think that she's going to be excellent at what she does as well. So that's where I stand.
Excellent. It's been moved. Looking for a second. I think we need a vote on that, right, Tom?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Second.
Moved in second. Who? I didn't see who did that. Was that you, Ed?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Been moved in. Any discussion? We'll move to a roll call vote. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ed votes yes. Judy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Connie, I almost was going to ask you to vote. Dick?
Yes.
Chickens are going to get locked up. Ian?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Robert? Rob?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. And you will be greatly missed, though. Anytime you want to come back, just let us know. We'll keep the fires burning, we promise. Oh.
Not everybody would have had the patience with this board over the last 3 years that Ann has had.
In a
She
few
deserves from
was
this board
challenged.
especially.
We'd love to get a list of your favorite years.
Let's hope she doesn't write a book.
Yeah.
And her favorite moments with this committee, with each member.
Too many to mention.
The stories, I'm sure.
We saw one of them 2 years ago.
Let's not get personal. Come on.
Don't go there. No.
Okay.
The known but unstated. How's that? We move back to our agenda, and we are going on to agenda item H, the harassment policy. This gone through the policy subcommittee at this point, Josh, Ian?
Yeah, we reviewed it, and Mary was there with us and went over both the policies with us, and all the committee members got to ask their questions, and I think she answered them all very handily. We read through both, and they both look pretty solid, and so ready to go.
Gotcha. Excellent. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question.
Please,
Is this
Judy.
our policy or did this come from the state?
State.
And
From our association though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we took it as is. It's fine. I just wondered.
It was reviewed by the lawyer.
That's always a good thing too. Dick, you had something to say?
So are we basically making a carbon copy of the state's policy and making it ours? Is that what we're doing?
In essence, I'm not sure it's the state's policy. It is the school committees, our association of school committees. It is their policy that they bring to us that we okay. And it's been run by the lawyer. And many of these things are just to cover our liabilities, the legality of how we run our schools. So the policies have to have certain content, and that's why it comes at us this way. These policies.
So the MASC's lawyers developed the policy and we're adopting it as ours because we believe that it gives us protection in a legal way if we follow these procedures.
I think at times they find that there's deficiency in policies and they determine that they need to be updated or upgraded, and that's what they do, and that's often how they come to us.
Okay.
And it was run through our lawyer, correct? And not through their lawyer. It's our lawyer that reviewed it. Dick.
Okay.
I would also,
Josh?
yep, I would also just add to Dick that all these policies, when they come to the subcommittee, we do a pretty thorough read through, and we are not quick to just adopt a mask policy word for word. That if we see that there's something that needs to change to better fit our schools, we are quick to do that. So it's we're not just taking masks and sticking them in our folder all the time.
And not just a rubber stamp.
So,
not always.
And that's done with the concurrence of our own lawyer.
Yes. I think the traditional workflow would probably be mask to subcommittee, back to lawyer, but sometimes lawyer checks it on those first. But I think that.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the policy?
I believe we, through the chair, I believe we reviewed it. This is the second reading. So I think on the first reading, weren't we advised of the minor edits that the subcommittee may have made or attorney may have made?
This is the first reading.
This is
right. That was the last, we passed policies last time. This is the first read on this one.
I apologize.
All right.
Well, could you, if we're going to do this, we ought to
Sorry,
really
Dick,
read
what?
it then,
Bobby?
right? I'm sorry.
Yes, Dick.
Could Josh or members of the policy committee tell us what the edits are?
I don't believe I don't. I think we only added in language around kind of the Nauset specific organizational workflow, contact numbers, who filing of complaints go to, just to specify Nauset specific job titles and names.
Personnel.
I don't think there was any. I attended this meeting from Route 6, so as I was moving towards the high school, so Ian might.
Dick, there are certain roles within here that people within the administration that need to fill, that would with these harassment policies that would need to be reported to, investigators that need to be named. So all those people were done. Those roles were assigned, and so how the workflow would go. Essentially that went, but as far as language went, we didn't see any type of edits from the lawyer as to what they specifically changed within the policy to meet our district. We just knew that it already had gone through that process and then was passed to us, and we did a read through. There was a bunch of questions. People asked certain things about how things were being reported, how that, how employees were to report, etc. And Mary was there to answer. Mary was there to answer all of those questions, which she did, and then the committee voted to move it here. So it went through a pretty thorough
All right.
look.
Okay, thank you, Ian.
Excellent. Any other discussion? I'd look for a motion then. I think we can do them all at the same time, if that's all right.
It's just one.
Just one.
I'm sorry, when I went down, I thought there was more than one. It's a long one, then I apologize. All righty, looking for a motion?
I'll move it. I'll make the motion.
Been moved, looking for a second?
Second.
Been seconded. We move to immediate vote. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
And I would vote yes also. Thank you very much. Going back to our agenda, we move on to agenda item I, the conference resolutions. Open for discussion on them. A pretty extensive 10 round of resolutions there.
Oh.
Chris, the other piece is you gotta also vote a delegate,
And a
right?
delegate for it, yes, sir. Sorry, let me get to them. So how would you like to handle these? We can discuss them individually and vote on them that method, or? So I'm just pulling it up. Oh. So how would you like to address them?
One way we could address them is by posing questions of the ones that we're unsure about.
All right, I'm not sure that we have an authority here that's going to be able to provide you with answers, but feel free.
Well, I would have one. I think on the, I guess, number 6 and 7.
All right, hang on, let's get to them.
We had this last year, Chris. Yeah. Well, I have a question on number 6. I'd just like to be sure what the resolution calls for. Oh, I see. It's on Medicaid reimbursements.
Right.
And they're not reimbursing at the rate of 100%.
Correct.
All right, now it's attempts by the US DOE to direct funding to private schools. What's the
Department of Education.
Yeah, what's the gist of this?
I think part of it has to do with the voucher program and private schools, and trying to give funds for public education to private schools.
Go to the last paragraph.
Yeah, I'm at that point.
They're laid out the exact same way, all 10 of them, so.
Yeah.
Can I just ask Tom what he recommends on this one?
Which one are you talking about?
Do that.
I mean, I think, can I just jump in on this just for a second? Because this is a lot here. And I know you have other work to do tonight. I think the key piece, what I see a number of the other district boards doing is they want to make sure they have somebody who's going to be the delegate to represent the views of this board. And they often are asking the board members to take time with this and then let them know what they would like on the various resolutions. And because quite honestly, the delegate has a right to do what they want when they go in terms of the process.
Tom, my thing cut out. Could you just in one sentence explain, tell us what you just said? My thing cut right out.
So I was just saying that, I deal with all the boards that typically it's first of all, making sure you can get a delegate who's going to represent the views of this board relative to these resolutions. And that a number of the boards, they will take time and then send some information to the delegate in terms of what their views on how they should vote. And
Yeah.
that's straightforward.
Yeah.
In the past, our procedure has been, in essence, to select a delegate and in turn to vote on them during the meeting prior to the conference and give the delegate instructions on how to vote. I think is how we've done it in the past.
You have, Chris. This board has. Yep.
This has. I realize it is long. There are 10 of them. Going through them, I mean, many of them are just suggestions and and that there isn't any weight to them. There's nothing that is really moving, but trying to get other people to do things, be it the state, Department of Education, or DESE. I didn't find any of them that I thought was offensive, but yes, Josh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the same thing, and I generally find at least one or two of these to take an issue with, but I mean, I just scanned through the 10 of them and read the little summaries, and I would not have a problem saying to lend support to all 10 right now, but also happy to do whatever the committee. I mean, I think to echo Tom, probably most important to find a delegate and then go from there. But I don't see anything controversial or.
Well, you've established our priorities, so let's begin with that. Who is planning on attending the conference that would be available to attend this meeting, which is going to be Friday, November 6th at 3:15 p.m. during the conference? And actually, this is in person, correct?
Oh, it was last year.
Yeah, well, it was
I would
pre-COVID
nominate
last
Dick
year.
Stewart if he were willing to do it again.
Who is that? Who is that?
Second.
No.
Been moved and nominated. The nominations are closed. All those in favor?
Well, I've done this once.
Second time's the charm, Dick. Come on.
I thought this was an opportunity to learn a lot more about education in Massachusetts. Honestly, I think we ought to give this opportunity to another person.
I think somebody with experience is important. And Dick, sadly on this board, you're the only one.
If Dick doesn't want to do it, I'll withdraw I'd withdraw the nomination if Dick doesn't want to do it. I know I can't do it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's planning on attending the conference during those days?
Do we even know what's the conference is about this year? I haven't even seen anything.
I haven't gotten the mailing that I normally get at this point in time. I'm sorry, I did go online, but it was much less user-friendly, I can say, first place, as far as what the layout was going to be. And it somewhat gives me the concept that they are not certain if they're going to be virtual or going to be actual. And that was kind of what I think I was taking from what they were presenting. So, Dick, you could be in your living room on the 3rd of November and vote from there.
That's not a treat. This is my 4th COVID meeting today. Now, I've had enough.
I am not going to be at the conference.
I am not planning on being at the conference either.
I'm not either.
Me either.
Josh, are you going?
Josh, that leaves you.
I can't. I mean, there's. I'm teaching right up until then. There's a small chance if it's virtual, I could drop in throughout the days. But
yes, Judy.
I believe that the new kid on the block
I knew that was
Go
coming.
to it. And you get credits for training that you need to be a school committee member.
Tom, I've been in training my whole life.
There's only one choice. I think it's very obvious.
Okay, I'll take one for the.
All right. Actually, Tom, it's a good
Welcome
experiment.
aboard, Tom.
I've been looking forward to it. I've been analyzing all the data.
Heroes don't always wear capes.
The registration's only $300, Tom. Don't worry.
We don't sell my car.
They'll mail you the sandwich that they normally pass out. So
I won't touch that.
Well,
All
I'd
right.
like to officially nominate Tom Fitzgibbons as our representative.
It's been moved. Looking for a second.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All right, take a vote. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tom, how do you vote? I didn't see that. Dick, how do you vote? Josh?
Yes.
Rob?
He didn't hear you.
Amy?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ian?
yes.
And I vote yes also. So
I'd like to thank you all for.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
you're welcome to have the honor of representing us all. What a nice thing. I'm looking for a motion on the resolutions that are going before that conference. Can we deal with them all as a batch, all 10, or do we need to divide them?
I'm happy to vote for them as a slate unless someone has a certain one they want to do individually.
Any
Robert.
objections to that? Seeing none, look for a motion then.
Yes.
Right, Dick, yes?
You know, we did this last year and I think the year before. And
every year.
I think that in some ways, some of these don't require a lot of critical evaluation by each of us. But I sort of think I would recommend that we take that we take the time next year to identify each of these and kind of be certain that our committee really supports a given resolution. You know, we kind of rushed this through last year, and then I went to this meeting and, you know, I go into the room, let's say it's the Eastham room, and as I'm going in, everybody else was leaving. You know, I just
Dick,
felt
you didn't vote for us? You didn't fulfill your promise to vote?
You guys told me there was one thing that I didn't really like very much. And you guys said, no, you got to vote for this. I don't know. I think I'd recommend we take 15 minutes next year and just sort of go through them one by one. That's all. These are important issues.
I'm sorry, I'm not disagreeing with you that they're not important issues. It's more really just a time thing. I think you're correct, but we have somewhat of a limited time in our monthly meetings. I apologize, but yes, Judy.
I would just like to say, we got these beforehand. It was our responsibility to read them all beforehand. Chris just asked if any of us had any questions or issues with any of them in particular that you would like to take out of the group of 10. If not, we vote for them as a group of 10.
I think they merit more consideration by the committee than that.
Why don't you read them and call me with?
I move that we request our representative to give our Nauset's concurrence on all 10 resolutions on November 3rd.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we move to a vote. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tom, how do you vote? And we want you to vote in our favor. Don't give that vote.
Interesting.
Dick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes, and thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Rob.
Judy?
Yes.
I vote yes. Tom, tell us what they serve. Last year was chicken cacciatore, I think.
Chicken cacciatore was gone by the time most of the delegates got there.
I think you got the wrong schedule there, Dick. You missed the chicken
I was
cacciatore.
place.
You missed the vote. What the heck?
American Wayfarer in Eastham. I was there.
I used to have responsibility for that hotel 30 years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, geez. Well, you can go and see how badly they've treated it since.
I don't think much has changed there in 30 years.
We'll be in Bass River.
All righty, let's getting back to our agenda since we did add some items at the end of it here. We move on to J, which is unfinished business. So just to be clear, I spent some time with this and went into Robert's rules after our discussion at the retreat meeting. And just to be clear, this category, the way we can utilize this category is only from items that were left incomplete from the previous meeting. So agenda items from the previous meeting that we had not found time or addressed completely could be brought up into this category. But things outside of that parameter would not be. It would not be a legal item, and we would have to add it to an agenda. So we would have to post it for a future meeting. Just so you know, because I know we had some discussions on what we wanted this category to be. I did add it on to the agenda just so that we had it there because we had discussed it. So any unfinished business from the last meeting that someone would like to discuss? Yes, Robert.
I wasn't sure whether to bring it up now or earlier when talking about the budget discussions, but I know we were talking about getting a list of class sizes with, less than, I think, was it less than 10 kids in it or more than a certain number? And I think that would be
10
helpful.
and over
to look at
25.
where-
Yeah. So as we get ready to open the high school, Robert, we'll pull that together now with the last school coming in. So we should have that for you next meeting.
Okay. I'll put it on the agenda for
Thank
it.
you.
So we're talking about under 10 and over 25, right? That was
So you're talking about class sizes.
class sizes, right? Under 10, over 25. Thank you.
Is there a way to look backwards on that to get those numbers from last year's?
I probably could
last year's high school?
dig some of that out, Josh.
Because that would probably be this year, I'm assuming everything's going to be chopped in half because we're hybridized. So
Yeah, I can
have all
get
these
last
tiny
year's, I
classes.
think. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that would be good to get both of them.
We've got the March forward numbers if you'd like. Those are pretty clear. 0, 0, 0, 0. All right. We move on then to agenda item K, development of school committee self-evaluation. I did send out again today the information from our meeting as far as what we said would be useful to use, as far as the categories for our self-evaluation. And as I say, I did email it again to you today. What we talked about, what we wanted to go over to establish ours. Everybody there? Not there? Yes, Robert.
Yeah, so if I recall correctly from our last retreat, you were talking about maybe
Retreat,
doing 2 items at the end of our meeting until we kind of figured it out. Is that correct?
Yep.
Like governance and operations being the 2 for this particular one?
All right.
Unless someone has another 2 they want to do first. I guess top of the.
No. We can do it in
We have
order.
one.
That makes sense. And those are the first 2. So the question is, the process of performing a a self-evaluation on these topics. Planning the evaluation requires the committee to reach agreement on areas of evaluation. And I'm sorry, it talks about these two can include, but certainly are not limited to, and we began with the governance and operations. So what are your feelings about this? Your thoughts, not feelings, actually.
So the 5 examples that were given in the sheet, you guys want to do those real quick? The committee's policies are clear and up to date, number 1. 2, the committee has adopted a mission statement. 3, the committee regularly evaluates its progress relative to the goals and objectives that have been adopted. 4, the committee refrains from involvement in the administration of the school system. And 5, the committee members take part in educational workshops and conferences to help them make informed decisions. Not that those have to be all inclusive, but.
Sorry. Ian, yes.
Chris, can we tell, if Connie wants to stay, she can, but I just wanted to let her know she doesn't have, I don't think she has to be here to listen to our evaluation form. If you'd like to, you're more than happy to listen.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Everybody. Have a good night. Thank
Sorry.
you.
Thanks, Connie.
A good night.
And the same for Chris too, right? Or Anne? I mean, I don't know. Does Anne have to stay to record it? And the more time we get with you, the better before you're gone. You know, so.
Anne's got to stay.
I'm happy to go home.
Oh, great. Thank you, Chris. Please do.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you, everyone.
And Robert, I hate to say it, I don't know where you are in this.
Page 4.
All right, thank you. That is not my page 4. I mean, we're on the.
It says sample descriptors, governance is the title. It says the very top of the page says appendix, and I think.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So thoughts, discussion.
What are people's feelings about having 5 different things to evaluate ourselves under each one of these headings? That seems like a pretty data-driven, a pretty deep dive. To begin this with, should we try to pare it down a little bit for underneath? If we're going to look at all these headings, should we shoot for 3 under each of them or do you think we need all 5 as tools to really evaluate?
I don't think we need 5. I think we need what we need. What we want there is what we have, what we think is sufficient. My guess is that they put, since this comes from Mask, they put all kinds of things out there for ideas
As I note, and I think I explained to you at the retreat, I had a conversation with our rep from Mask, and they said that they no longer put, just their current form is they no longer push a physical evaluation or recommend that they are doing something more like an ongoing review of yourself kind of thing. And so, but there's no form. I asked him for, could you give me some direction or whatever? And there was nothing he had to give me. And he's going to get back to me supposedly. So Jim Hardy was the one who said that. And I think we do this type of evaluation for the superintendent. I don't think it would hurt us to do it for ourselves. I think I kind of like the format, but it's up to you all.
I think the 2 of these that speak most strongly to me are the committee has adopted a mission statement and that we regularly evaluate its progress relative to the goals and objectives that we have been adopted. I think the other ones to some extent might be important, but I know we have a tome filled with policies. I don't know whether we should go through and figure out what doesn't make sense anymore. I don't know how much we should refrain from involvement in the administration of the school system. Like that seems like an odd thing to me.
Chris, if I may for a second, I would say
Yes,
there's 5 pages here. that, that we could go through each, and all you have to do is put a number value. If you agree, strongly agree is a 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think it would be interesting, just as a very first time, for us to run through and find out how many don't knows go on there, just for example, just to see, where the holes are, if you will,
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, so that would be pretty, don't knows. And then, then we have a 1, 2, 3 with, we don't have to even do 1, 2, 3 if we don't want. We can just have agree, disagree, and don't know. We can just break it down to 1, 2, and 3 if we felt like it. And we could just run through the 5 pages, and then really have a discussion. Maybe we could, aggregate the agreements, the disagreements, and the don't knows somehow. I don't know what the best way to do that is, but then from there, I think that'd really help us form the evaluation in itself. If we just, because this is already here in front of us, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. We take this, we run through it, and it will give us some information as committee members, especially in the, like I said, again, the don't know areas.
I think Judy just needs to tell us what page the mission statement's on. I didn't catch that in the email.
The mission statement is in the strategy, and we should have the same mission statement that strategy has. So that's done.
The strategic plan.
Strategic plan.
Yes.
But if I could say, I agree with Ian. I think if, rather than discussing these right now all tonight, if we just take this away and we do it and do as Ian said, 1, 2, or 3, agree, disagree, don't know, put it down. If anybody can come up with things under these areas that they think isn't here, we could add it. Submit it all to either you or me. I would be glad to tabulate it. Bring it back to the next next committee meeting, and then we would have something.
You could address it at the end of the meeting. Set a time
Now,
frame aside.
everybody said this one, don't know, don't care, or whatever. And
I think so.
We easily pare this down.
While we have a policy subcommittee, I think there is a separate concept here of the committee's policies, which may be an entirely different beast that we have not addressed. And so I think as we go through, we may see things like that, is there a distinction between our policies and our committee's policies?
The answer is yes.
I agree.
So that sounds a good idea to start off for me. So are we doing this as homework and trying to send it to Judy within the next couple of weeks, so she has a couple of weeks to tabulate it? Is that a reasonable timeline for most people?
Could be.
I was just going to say it would be pretty easy to quickly throw this into a Google form and have Google do the math for us, or at least it will spit out pretty pie charts for us, or what like it. I could, if I have access to these that aren't a PDF, especially, I could just copy paste them into a Google form that would let us collect all this electronically. Not that there's a lot of us, but it would save some time.
Were these sent in a PDF form? I don't know if that was I had difficulties with these, needless to say.
You sent it all in separate pages, however you sent it.
Yeah, they're JPEGs.
There were
they're
8
photos.
different pages.
Probably, yeah. So my guess is that Mask must have them somewhere where I could just quickly copy paste them.
Hunt them. Like after I found them originally, I tried to hunt them, and I actually had printed a copy, and that was the only way I got it back to you. And that was, I had to scan it in, and that's how you ended up with the separate pages. I could not find it again. And I had a conversation. That was part of what got that conversation with Jim Hardy, and still couldn't find it. So I'm not saying, worst case comes to worst, we just type it in. I wasn't aware of Google Forms, though. I've never used that, but I think that would be great. And then we would have a document to begin with that we could make adjustments to and make it our own in the end, which is the ideal, which is what we're trying to come up with. Yes, no, maybe? Or is it just,
Google, yeah.
I can try to do a Google form. I mean, I'll do it. I'm retired. This is what you get to do, Anne. When you retire, you get to come back and do work that you're getting paid for.
Can we assign in some things to do once she retires? Oh my God.
She's got to keep the gardens going out front of central office.
There you go.
Job number one.
Could use Ann on the committee.
The beautification assignment.
That is something you would like to take on, Judy?
I said I would do it. I didn't say I would like to do it. I said I would do it. It would be my pleasure.
Without griping. No. Just kidding. Just
a little bit of whining.
Okay, all right. That's
okay. Yeah. I mean, if I somehow can't get it done, what day is today? By the beginning of next week, I'll let you know.
Okay.
But nobody comes and visits me anymore. Even my grandkids next door, I only see in passing. So.
And you had to bribe Giovanna to put the bus stop in front of your house so you could see them. Come on.
I did. I do. I see in the morning now. It's the only time I see my granddaughter.
Oh, all right. I think that's good. I have not come up with, but I will go through our retreat meeting minutes and just come up with probably more just a blurb piece on the thoughts and things that were transpired there, so we have something to move on from there, and goals that we had set up that we were going to do, and I will have that out to you in the next week or two. I've had a busy week. I apologize. I didn't have time to get to that, so.
Okay.
Apology accepted.
Thank you. Other discussion at this point? I'm sorry, let me get back to my agenda. We feel good about where we are on this evaluation. We understand where we're going. Everybody's clear. Judy's going to put it into a format where we can get it and be able to administer or put in our ratings on it, and then we can tabulate it. Actually, Google will then tabulate it for us. We can go back and go through it and see if it does what we would like it to do, what adjustments we would like to make to it. Okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yep. Good. All right. We move on then to reports and information. Priority business 5. Anyone? Any reports? Yes, Tom.
Yeah, a quick one. I was zoomed into the FinCom.
I know, I hear you get some of that shit.
Can you hear me?
Amy, I think we're hearing you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was zoomed into the Brewster FinCom meeting yesterday where they discussed, they've got a subcommittee doing a write-up on the building, Nauset Regional Building Committee, not the committee, but the project, the pros and cons. They put about 30 pages together. It's in rough draft. It was distributed to the committee, for comment, questions, whatnot, and they'll continue to refine it. As it relates to us, they want to, they're going to formulate a list of questions that they felt that we didn't answer in their inquiries late last fall. I know we responded, but it wasn't the response I think they wanted. But so they're going to submit those questions to the administration. The whole conversation, I haven't read it in depth. I scanned the whole thing, and I have to go in deeper and look at the charts. And there's a lot of mathematical accounting kinds of postulations about choice and the impact that it has on the taxpayer. At this point, it appears they're making it more of a referendum on choice than what the true issue is. The issue is do you want to build a new school? And as it relates now, we're getting it done at $450 a square foot. The municipal bonds are at an all-time low. They're going out at under 2%. And the MSBA is giving us $36 million for the privilege. So stay tuned when those questions come. I guess I'll go through you, Chris, and see how you want to.
Just a quick question, Tom. Now, what was the gist of it? So, I mean, I understand membership has changed on that committee. They are still negative towards are looking for anything to shoot it down, and school choice is their round to go.
I think they're fairly committed to thinking that the choice is a financial hindrance to the district and costs. They can't get their arms around the fact that, as somebody said tonight, that we haven't had an override, and I asked, I checked, and it's been over 15 years. We've operated within the Prop 2.5 guidelines, in spite of special education going off the charts, insurance, teachers' wages go up combined probably over 3% at least every year, probably 3.5. So I don't know. You can go into the site and go into the meeting, the agenda, and you can pull up the document. I was just waiting till it got totally completed until we got the questions.
All right.
But I haven't read it in depth enough to know if they've even they did a pros and cons down and dirty sheet, one page. But I was part of that committee, and then the pandemic hit. And we had done a lot of research, but then we dropped it all because the timing wasn't good to pursue it. But they're talking about getting together with the other FinComs and seeing if they want to discuss it. I know that Mike Fitzgerald did that at the suggestion of some of the members on the FinCom last year, and he did get together with them, and they had no interest.
Yeah.
They all had maybe one person on the committee at that point in time. There've been reappointments and everything who didn't wasn't supportive of it because of choice. But at that point in time, there was no interest on their part to get together. One of the members had discussed coming to one of our meetings to make a presentation. And I'm not quite sure what he was. He was one of the newer members, but he was going to pose a question to us about the cost of choice. And I don't know. The implication is that the board didn't respond to some of the inquiries that they had. I know as a FinCom member, I was at 2 of those meetings. I know we did respond. I know I saw a response passed out at one of the board meetings towards the end of the year when you made decisions on choice of our response. But I don't know if that resonated.
Okay.
So.
All right. Yes, Josh.
Yeah, just a quick related note. I was happened upon an interesting Facebook comment thread last night, started by someone in Brewster suggesting that they leave the region and send all their kids to the high school as choice students because it only costs $5,000 a kid for choice. Not understanding that if you don't have a high school, you don't get to participate in choice. They thought the P-Town and Truro kids came to Nauset for $5,000 a head, and so there's the long and short of it is I hopped down and corrected people and said, that's crazy. It's gonna end up costing you a lot more, but there's a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation around school funding in general. And I don't know how to get to the people that aren't actively seeking it out. I was upset that this question got pulled down because they thought they were being annoying, but it's that's where those are the people we need to engage with and explain the nitty gritty of funding, and that it's not, we can't send Brewster kids to Nauset High for $5,000 a head if they leave the region. P-Town kids pay much closer to 20,000 than 5,000. And we can talk about it here at our meetings. We can put out things on the web, but I don't know how we engage the level of voter that's going to go and possibly vote against the high school project based on misunderstanding, misinformation. Maybe there is no answer to it, but if there's something we can do.
The focus really is, do we need, they either vote for a school, and if they don't, then we have to upgrade the existing one, and it's the same money. The bringing it up to code is around 98 to 100 million, and after the MS, or 98 to 100 million without MSBA support, and doing a new one is 95 to 98 million with 36 million in MSBA support. There's no, choice is our choice. The school committee, we make those designations, and that's our authority. And as somebody said, it's a red herring. The reality is do we need a school? Yes. Is it, it's 50 years old. I've toured it 3 times. And the last time, maybe 3 weeks ago, I went from the roof to the sub basement with the chief engineer. And I mean, we're living on borrowed time there.
John?
Just point of order, Chris, are we getting into more of a dialogue and
I
not just
gotcha.
reports of information?
Yeah, thank you. Good point.
Thank you.
Dick, you had something to say? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm sorry, Tom. Dick,
I'll keep you updated on future.
I just wanted to ask Tom if he thinks that the FinCom, these guys have been churning on these issues and numbers.
I think Dick, did we go back to it? We can have a conversation about them in the future, but at present, really, when we get to this section of our agenda, I believe the issue is our boards and our communication from our boards and our information. It's from our subcommittees and whatever, and not from outside ones. Now, what would make sense, Tom, is for us to have a representative that does keep eye on the FinCom in Brewster, and in turn the FinCom in Orleans and Eastham. But at present, we don't have that officially as a representative. I'm saying in the past, we haven't had feedback. This is not the time frame in which we've used to do that. So is there other subcommittees that wish? Robert, did you go to collaborative?
Oh, the collaborative meeting is actually next week because it's the second Tuesday and it's one of those weird calendar months. But the one piece of update is that we did have our first positive COVID student there. So they went to all remote learning for a few days to see if there would be any more cases, because since they're special needs students, it's a lot more, I think the phrase is intimate in terms of working with the staff and other students. It's a lot more hands-on, up close and personal. So there was a COVID case. They're following all the proper protocols and getting all the medical advice and all that.
Thank you. Any questions for Rob? Seeing none. Judy, you want to report on ours? Budget and finance? You're talking to yourself. Sorry.
All right, we had the Budget and Finance Subcommittee meeting Tuesday. It was lengthy. We went over the dashboard in detail, and in much more detail than we did tonight. There are a couple of things that we're going to follow up on. Starting next month, we're going to be looking in detail at the high school budget, and then the following month at the middle school budget. If you look on your dashboard, you can see that some of the line items where we're already have deficit is due to hiring of personnel that weren't in last year's budget. So that is an issue we're going to look at along with some other things. And also the capital, we talked about the capital assets that went on at length. And Jim Nowak, after that, has sent us a plethora of information about his schedule and calendar and developing the new capital assets budget. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I think he sent it out to the whole subcommittee. I don't have my notes in front of me. I had them and now I've lost them. The meeting went on for so long, we had to cut it short. What else did we talk about?
For DoorDash, we had to get some food. We were all.
We had to get, yes, it almost went on as long as this meeting. Couldn't do that twice in 1 week to people. I think that's it.
All right. On that note, I'd like to make a motion also that we separate the Budget and Finance and the Capital Asset Subcommittee into 2 separate committees. We can set up their timeframes. The concept would be that they would meet one right after the other so people could be resident on both. But there is no doubt in my mind that at present, the capital needs, the physical needs of our buildings and campuses need a greater attention than what they're getting under this current format, and that we should get back to the capital asset subcommittee and reform it or reinstitute it. So we would do that at the next Budget and Finance meeting. So I make that motion. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Been moved, seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question. You're not assuming that the same people are going to be on both committees.
Don't have to be, but can be. It's more just, no. Actually, I think we had talked about at our meeting, my real concern was for the staff that the same people, Giovanna and Jim are usually the ones that are present for that. They could move right into the next meeting, so it wouldn't be, we wouldn't be requiring them and running them around hoops. That was really my concern, was just being cognitive of their time, conscious of their time.
I'm not too sure how this saves their time, but.
Well, they just don't have to leave. They zoom, I mean, if we're Zooming, they zoom in, they just stay on the Zoom, swap over. And if it's in person, then we just continue on. I mean, so they don't have a separate meeting for it. But if it works out that way, fine. If not, we can separate. I mean, that doesn't really matter. Other discussion? Seeing none, we move to a vote. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right. Future agenda items. So I believe that's, lost my agenda. But I believe that's where we're at. Future agenda items. Yes, Dick.
The health report from the high school.
The survey.
Yes.
Yes. Got it.
Chris, can you tack on to that? If we can find out from maybe Mary or Chris, is there a future plan for an ongoing assessment of that? Is there going to be, I know we asked for another one, but.
I can tell you under Ann that at least as I understood it in my timeframes with it, was that the survey was usually done in the spring of the year so that the students had time to settle in, and we got a comfortable students survey rather than a new student survey. And that's all I know, but yes, I can ask.
Sure. And the only other thing I would ask in that is that it be, make sure that it's an anonymous survey. I don't know how the format was last year, but I think it's imperative to get real data that it's absolutely anonymous.
I got you, certainly. Other points? Yes, Tom.
Discussion about possibly maybe meeting twice a month, so the meetings are shorter and we're kept informed on issues a little more timely, especially during all of the what's going on with the pandemic and school opening and closing.
All right. Other topics? Yes, Rob.
I might have missed this. I had to change from my phone to my laptop, but preschool in terms of who's in charge of that and all that.
So just, I mean, I'm sorry, pardon me.
So that was one point, and then the second one was I know we had kind of talked about the different roles of the office and trying to define those, and I don't know what part of the meeting we would bring that up in or how we would go about requesting that, but that would be a thing I want to bring up.
Roles, job descriptions you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
All right, we have had during the Budget and Finance Subcommittee meeting, we had discussion on the preschool and where that fell in, and it does seem to be somewhat of a gray area, but we are going to get some information back. That was how we left it. Is that correct, Judy? They were going to get.
Yes, it was. It seems, I mean, it falls under the Director of Student Services, but exactly where the oversight, I don't, there's no school committee that has any kind of oversight over that. So I think one of the things is that one of the items is to get Mary back. I mean, she was at one of our meetings earlier, but I think she had just like almost just gotten here. So I think if we get her back for, now that she's been here for 4 months, school's in session, how are things going? And we could talk about the preschool program then at that time. But I think it was very good to have Eileen here.
Yes.
We do this on a regular basis, and I think we should do the same thing with Mary. Because we never did get a final out brief with Ann Coretti before she left.
Yeah, and it's not too late. We can still go sit and talk to her. I mean, I think we just need to set up a time to do it. I'm sure she would do it. So.
And I think there were a couple of others that were brought up tonight. I assume you wrote them down.
Class size 1020.
And an analysis of the teacher's retirement on the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Amy?
What about our involvement in the budget too? Just kind of a follow-up on that. I know we touched on it a little bit tonight, sort of, just what our role is now that we had the technology, all that information. It made me think a little bit more about, we really need a lot more than we budget for, like what's, like you guys brought up tonight, our involvement, like what are we gonna, I don't know how we put that on for a future agenda.
So, I mean, when we get to the budget, to be honest with you, there's nothing that stops us from taking a deeper dive. I mean, in the past, what we have done is just go through it and bang, bang, bang. But we have a breakdown. You can see the line items. There's those line items relate to a dictionary or a reference in the back that tells you what is in that line item. And so we can, it is really just a situation of us taking the time to ask the questions. And if the person isn't there that can answer them, then we have them come to the next meeting. I mean, it holds over, and it can be much more in depth if we choose to make it that way. It's our budget. I mean, it's our budget. So I mean, part of it is just our procedure of how we go about it. Yes, Josh, and maybe. I'm sorry, just a quick point, maybe beforehand, get together once we get the budget and sit down and go through it with a small committee that's looking at it. What areas do we want to bring out? Be it counseling and that counseling programming, what issues are we interested in to see to it that they're getting funded in a manner that we feel is representative of what needs to be. So.
Okay, that's what I was kind of thinking of. There's good points tonight. How do we just incorporate that into, to make sure it fruition to go forward, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Josh?
And yeah, to connect a little bit to Amy's comment, I think, and I think we talked about it at the retreat, finding a formalized way to get some department heads or teaching staff in to report out to us
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis, and that might guide some of our budget. I mean, ultimately, teaching and learning should guide our budget, primary to town's request. We're part of the system, part of the financing of the whole town, but we got to let teaching and learning steer the ship.
So let's just begin at the start then. What would you like at the next meeting? Who should we have at the next? I mean, we can set that up now. We can, I mean, by choosing it now, we can at least give we can make the request now so that it's more likely we'd have the person available. So who would we like?
Everybody.
Dick?
One place to start might be with the chairman of the World Languages Program.
Chairman of the World Languages Program. I'm sorry, but I must confess, I didn't even know we had one. Yes, I'm sorry, Josh?
I'm not sure we can go wrong, but I'm thinking of budget heavy things. The sciences probably are a place where you've got teachers who might be able to make big changes with 30, 40, like it's so I think if we can think of, something that might be budget heavy or lean right now.
Gotcha. Amy? Can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Amy.
You're muted.
The nurses,
Oh, yeah.
we dive in to have them, come in and kind of explain what they need for help.
Yeah.
We talk about all the time trying to help the kids, and this might be our chance to see, what else we might need.
Gotcha. Josh?
I don't know if, and you guys will, obviously, I've only been here for about a year, but I'm wondering if we ever get a report out from guidance counselors. I mean, they're spending so much time with these kids. They might have the best idea of what really is going on up there. I don't know what we ask them, but I'm just curious if they've ever come.
They have come before us, most certainly. We had them before.
Oh, okay.
Within the past 3 years at least. And the department was there. I'm not sure exactly what was it. I'm not sure was it under the attendance policy, but it was there they were there for a purpose, and they were all there. It was good.
Chris, I don't think they've come since I've been on. So it was before my time.
Gotcha. And you're shaking your head. Am I off on this?
You're off.
Yeah, but see, I remember seeing Steve there. I remember seeing the head of guidance there. I know. I mean, we're in Brewster. I remember seeing him.
Steve who?
In front of us. So.
Steve who?
You had something? Oh.
Ann was trying to speak.
No, she wasn't. She was waving, smiling, excited. This is her last meeting, hoping we don't go until midnight.
She does sign language.
Wondering what's on TV. Hoping your dinner's not getting cold. Sorry. All right. So I'm sorry. We've got this. Maybe next time we get the sciences in to start, since it is a budgetary item to be early in the process. We move on from there. Nurses maybe because the kids will be back in school, so that they will at least have, November. We're looking at December then. So the nurses will have some time with the kids in school at that point. So we may get some good feedback there. And they'll move on to world languages in January because it's a good way to start the year. Dick, is that okay?
I guess so. But look, if we're going to do the nurses and we're very concerned about the students' health, why don't we bring the guidance counselors in right after we do the nurses?
Bring them in at the same time.
Okay.
All right. So why don't we'll begin with the sciences since we know what we're going to do. I think we need to come up with what we would like them to present to us if we're going to ask them to come in. Just having them there is not enough. So we should have information that we want from them. And we could have that discussion at the end of next meeting, if you'd like, of what we would want from the nurses and guidance at the same time. I'm sorry, Tom, you've got something?
Yeah, special ed, since that's such a huge part of the budget, and it keeps growing.
That's Mary.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know, did the new SPED director, have we met her yet?
Mary.
Yeah.
Mary, yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I would also love at some point to get the arts. I mean, when I said everyone, I really mean everyone, but I'd love to get the arts and shop teachers in there too. I think that, yeah, that's another spot where
So again, I think
money could add great programs.
Yeah, I think we should sit down and get to our calendar so that we set this up as a yearly event. So it's not just a hit and miss. I mean, the budgetary process, whatever, but so that we get these people in on a regular basis so that each month we're seeing some department from the high school and middle school. We hit the high school here, but we've got the middle school that we have to address and attain to also. So.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I think if you're getting the science people in, you get them in from both schools. Let's not poo-poo the middle school here.
All right. I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody. I hate to say this, my thought process was, I mean, in the past, the way we've kind of done these things, they've come in and done a little presentation. Is this just a discussion? I mean, we remember with.
Well, they can do a presentation, but if we have all these people in, we don't have enough meetings to have them. We only have 12 meetings a year.
At our retreat, we had said that we would come up with a questionnaire of topics that we would like them to address when they came to speak to us. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, at least they have, so it's not what are they coming in for? I mean, in the past, when we've seen somebody from the sciences, it was usually some type of display. They brought some students in, they did a presentation and left. If that's not what we want, we need to make sure that we give them some indication of what we'd like them to report on.
Agreed.
So. All right. Okay. We will ask for the sciences next time. How about I'll send something out and you can send it back to me, the topics that you would like them to address so we can get it to them before they come. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, good. I don't have my agenda, but I'm pretty sure we're at the bottom of it.
Motion to adjourn, if that's what.
Second.
I can't see. There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? No, we move into a roll call. Ed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes, we're gonna miss you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann, for everything.
Thank you,
And
Ann.
somebody
Thanks a lot.
needs to go to Tom's office because I think he fell out of his chair and I think he's.
I got his cot in his office. He's sleeping.
Call a wake-up call or whatever. All right, all. It was a challenging meeting, but a good one, I think. There has been some movement this week too. We've got some good things. We'll talk about it in the future. So.
Thank you all. Have a good week.
Thank you. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
You're welcome to Zoom with us. You can Zoom with us anytime.